Ladies and gentlemen, a good Sunday to you all. It is 10:20 on a Sunday morning for me. My kids have just gone out for an hour, and I have some time to make some videos. So we're going to take a look at this 31-page thread. I don't intend to do this for every video because it will encourage people to just troll, and I don't think we want to do that more than ordinary. We did release the gear video last week. Why am I busy? First of all, to the regular viewers, is I have a very, very important thing coming up in about 2 weeks that needs super preparation. I've made a lot of people aware of it. I did do a stream announcement on April 11th. I can reveal all, but I will have to leave the country for a little while in order to get it done, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, we released the gear video as a question to the community. Is the treadmill broken? It was a question for you guys, and I wanted to get some feedback on it. Unfortunately, the feedback most places was kind of just in agreement, especially for those guys playing. On Reddit, nothing. There were guys who were like, yeah, this is my experience. Everything from casual to mythic. Remember, I did stress that the video wasn't about mythic raiders and being special snowflakes, but I've no doubt we're going to encourage that here. And on the general forums, the same. But an MMO champion blew up into a whole big thing that you guys, wonderful stream viewers, made me aware of. I have kind of stopped checking MMO champion for a while now. Kind of sad. There's a lack of big communication to keep up to date on. I used to check it daily, but not anymore. Anyway, we're going to have a read through this. We're going to have some fun. We're going to kick back and relax and see what's going on here. So Embryo is the guy who posted it. Don't know who that is. I think he's touching on an important subject with how the reward structure is set up right now. It means that there's really no incentive for anyone to replay the content and progress their character after seeing the content, regardless of what level you play the game. It'll all be completely reset in 3 months anyway. Excellent. Love this. So first of all, this is obviously not just Mythic Raiders. So I got the reason I made the video is that for a long time now, certainly almost immediately after BOD launched, I had a lot of people contacting me which were from every aspect of the game. So in terms of the Mythic Raiders, they tend to contact me directly through, like, comms, because they join our comms and stuff. A lot of the top guilds all intermingle. That's a very normal thing to have happen. They were telling me, like, their biggest concern for the Mythic Raiders, actually, a little insider info, is they were really worried about what would happen with their players after the raid was done. So the guys who expect to kill Jaina in a reasonable amount of time, they're really worried that immediately the game's going to go back to world quests and stuff, right? And that's about it. And certainly they all know 100%, as I know, is that if you can do mythic dungeons at whim, right? So you've got other players in your guild who want to do mythic dungeons, certainly above level 10, then we know that when the Ashara raid comes out is we can immediately replace everything, and therefore there's a really, really low incentive to farm, say, Mythic BOD and Mythic Crucible of Storms. Now, Crucible of Storms had its loot buffed, so that might be something we want to look at, which is not surprising. But definitely a concern that the players are just like, there's just nothing for us to do here. But we also heard this from the casual player base. The casual player base was saying, my item level has just gone up, and I still haven't had any doors open for me. So what should I do? I now need to work on just... The grind has just shifted somewhere else. And also... from the guys who only want to do heroic, especially because the jump to heroic to mythic is enormous, is that, like, there's nothing for them to do because they'll just get a full set of heroic plus gear in a very short time span when the new raid comes out. And mostly it came under the guise of what games should I play instead, because as maybe a lot of people don't know, I don't really stream World of Warcraft anymore. We have streamed it a little bit this week with the new content, but we don't really play World of Warcraft, and that's because there's not really a reason to, and that's sad, because we're playing an MMO. It's not Diablo. We need a persistent community. So, let's see. So we got some nice charts here, actually. Very cool. Linear. It is linear. So, for the changes are that, obviously, we have way more sources of gear, which... is fine, because obviously it gives people in the casual world more incentive to do stuff. That quality of that content, I would say, is very low. It's guaranteed success, guaranteed win. It's actually so psychologically normal to have this be a bad thing that even Homer Simpson recognizes it, who's an absolute complete moron in everything that he does. Even he recognizes guaranteed winning is bad for you and boring and all that. And obviously with so many sources of gear, there's a lot of duplicate gear. Attaining really good gear is actually very, very hard, but most of the stuff is only slightly worse, and therefore it makes all the loot kind of boring because it has to duplicate across itself. Let's have a look. Normal heroic dungeons are removed. Only Mythic and Mythic Plus remain. Oh, these are suggestions. Normal heroic dungeons are removed. Don't agree with that. They always drop the same item level loot regardless of it being a 1 or a 10. However, at the start of each reset, you get a number of upgrade tokens. Yeah, a lot of people like the token system. Based on your highest completed key, which you can upgrade the gear you got from the previous week to heroic raid quality. For example, 1 to 6 can reward you with 1 token, 7 to 9 2 tokens, 10 plus 3 tokens. I don't like that. I like going out trying to get upgrades. I would actually... There's a very little incentive to do more than 10. More than 1 10 a week. Now, you could say that's the same right now. But in the early days, because of the way the gear system is... I like to do multiple 10s. And sometimes I also like to help out with my friends. And there's still a chance of getting something worthwhile doing that. Low chance. I don't like the idea of stilting content even more, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, there's a 1 and drop done for me. It would be an incentive for people to go from 6 to 7. I kind of feel, though, if the cutoff was like that, is most people would just go for the slow grind and just get the 1 to... they would rather do a 1 and get, a 1 very easily... And then they'd be fine with that, rather than going all the way up to 7 in order to upgrade that even more. I don't think that would work. At a glance, maybe I need more thinking on it. Remove Titan Forging and instead reduce the amount of loot we get from various sources. Okay, so you want to do both of those things. In order to make things we get feel more meaningful. In a perfect system, you get all the gear you want from your raid difficulty of choice a couple of weeks before the next raid comes out on average. Okay, so... Remove Titan Forging, instead reduce the amount of loot you get. Titan Forging is a weird one because a lot of people really hate it. I don't think it is the ultimate evil. I think it's a system of evil. You might remember we talked about Marshmallow Man having all these different elements that culminate into a big problem. I just think Titan Forging needs to be within reason. That's all. Titan Forging needs to be within reason because... It's something Blizzard talked about in Cataclysm is every item feels transitory. So what that means is once you get an item, it's very, very difficult at this point to say, this is the item I'm going to have for a while, because you actually never know when you're going to immediately replace it. And that makes people less incentivized to even care about the items they've got because they can swap it immediately. Removing Titan Forging would stop that because it's like, this is the level of content I'm in. Therefore, this is the item I'm going to have for a while. Reducing the amount of loot. Yes, I think that's a fair shout at the moment. We get just too much loot, which if you're showered in it, then of course it loses meaning. It loses meaning. But another way of looking at it is to make more interesting items that you can actually target. So I'm not talking about legendaries here, which I think is the go-to for many. It's just a case of having things that are cool, interesting items. And they are doing that. In Crucible of Storms, they are doing that. So maybe that's the way they're going. Valor points and honor points are re-added to the game and have a cap that should net you 1 piece of gear per week. Oh, you purchase things with them. Okay. 2 pieces if you cap out both Valor and Honor. Honor vendors should sell upgrade tokens that cost as much as a piece of gear. You could use those to upgrade your gear to heroic raid item levels. I'm going to be honest here, I'm not a big fan of the Valor point system. I saw that as just an added grind. But I'm okay with it because MMOs in general have a grind. I totally accept that. I'm okay with it as long as they do have a cap. Like, AP should have had a cap. And therefore, we don't have this ridiculous gap that exists now. Which is basically what we call the Mythic Raid Tax. Right? It's unfortunately called that, the Mythic Raid Tax. Which is that if you have higher level gear, you also are committed to doing a lot more content you don't enjoy and have absolutely no reason to do in your characters. Because you can smash that content to pieces. So World Quest, Warfronts, and things like that. However, they do reward a lot of artifact power, Azerite power, whatever. And therefore, there's a tax, an actual tax. It's a very real thing that if you get higher item level Azerite armor, or like this is what happened going into BOD, you're going to get high level Azerite armor and you need certain AP. Whereas the guys who are getting normal and heroic, and that's what they expect to get, have to do way less. So you if you are getting better gear, certainly with the Azerite armor system, you are then taxed to go and do a lot more shit that you really don't want to do. In terms of Valor points and stuff, as long as they've got a cap, I'm okay with it. And as long as that cap comes from any source. So if I can cap my Valor through Mythic Plus dungeons, or raiding, or PvP, or pet battling, or Warfronts, or whatever, I'm fine with it. As long as I can do the content I want to do, and there's still... and that's enough for me. As long as I can do it through the content I want to do, that's fine. I have no issue with that. These things ensure that you have a meaningful and rewarding progression path through gear that isn't instantly validated when a new season starts. The base dungeon gear increases every season. That's your catch-up method to get you into normal raiding. There is no overlapping difficulties, and with Titan Forging gone, there's no reason to start off a new reason by clearing or split running a difficulty that's trivial to you because of upgrades. Normal mode raiders continue progression normal from day one. Heroic raiders continue with heroic and so on. Yeah, I think catch-up needs to go back to being catch-up. Catch up. The idea of catch up is good. It doesn't lock people out. There's pros and cons to having a full linear system where you have to get gear from the previous one to go to the next one. Because let's face facts, if you come back when the Ashara raid comes out, Uldir and BOD, like if you get into BFA at that point, Uldir and BOD are new content to you as well as everybody else who joined then. There is an argument to be made there. However, I totally get that people want to do the latest and greatest, but I think catching up to normal mode is right. Catching up to like heroic mode, I don't think does many players many favors who haven't learned to play yet. And there's a lot of those guys because they're just out gearing, as we've seen. They get too high gear for the content they then need to get upgrades from. They're jumping to like Mythic +7. They just can't do it. They just can't do it. So I don't think that's fair to those players. I think that's actually quite mean. Okay. There are smarter people than him. You should not listen to any idiot that's on Tube. His name fits his story. Preaching nostalgic bullshit that no one wants except nostalgic players. Lucky not everyone is nostalgic. I don't know what the nostalgia is. But yes, there are smarter people than me. That's fact. Something tells me those are very few and far between on this forum. This is the why these threads blow up. You guys are at war all the time. Like, I don't get why... No, not a single... This is the first 2 replies. Nothing's about the subject of the video. Nothing. Nothing at all. Like, there's no way these guys even watch the video. It's just a war straight away. Blizzard should just remove garbage, unnecessary RNG and Titanforge, Warforge bullshit. I tend to lean in that direction at this point. BFA pushed it way too far. The pendulum swings, obviously. And I think this is the culmination of it. Like, there's so much RNG in the game that it's hard to enjoy. And maybe if I had a gambling addiction, I'd enjoy it a lot. But I don't. I go to a casino maybe twice a year. I have fun with my £20. That's the limit I set myself in a casino and go to a relatively cheap casino. I have fun, but that's because I'm with friends. We're sharing drinks. We're having a night out. RNG on top of RNG, not for me. Okay, you're absolutely correct, which means you have to search for them. They're not out in the open. Oh, the mysterious super clever people. The mysterious super clever people. You got to find them, guys. They're lurking somewhere. We'll find them. Preach other shitters like him simply make a score off unwashed masses with their revelations. And these said masses swallow it all hook, line, and sinker. Oh, this guy got banned. I'm a shitter. Fucking hell, man. I'd hate to see a badder. Jesus. Okay. Are people sharing opinion? So, excuse me. Things like this are really interesting to me because this is like YouTube comments. YouTube comments can be very vitriolic, full of evil and hate. I mean, I've had threats against my family for my opinion on World of Warcraft. I've used many of you know. But sometimes there's a nugget of truth in there and you've got to seek it out. So if I read a YouTube comment, it's like, this is the worst video I've ever fucking seen. This fat piece of shit is a useless cunt. I can't believe how bad the audio was, right? Maybe there's something wrong with the audio and I need to look at that despite the nonsense. This doesn't really help. This is like a personal attack, which I'm fine with, by the way. Attack away. I don't care. Okay. Is that so much different than it was in the past? My alts in the Burning Crusade were literally BT ready gear-wise, just with badge gear. Only achievements kept them out. In Wrath of the Lich King, it got even more extreme with a new currency every tier and the ability to buy raid gear with badges from 5-mans. If I remember, yeah, there's some misremembering going on here. Sure, they were always behind my main that raided all the time, but they could have still entered the raid and held their ground. In Wrath of the Lich King, I pugged raided on something like 4 alts. People have made posts for the longest time now on how much it sucks that they cannot come back mid-expansion and raid with their friends because they can never catch up. Seems Blizzard listens. This feels like half remembered to me. I mean, we recently looked into this in detail. You probably remember the video where I was in Shatrath and we looked at this. BT ready is kind of subjective. Did I raid BT on a very undergeared alt? Yes, but I was on a Warlock that needed Curse of Tongues for a Reliquary of Souls. A Warlock hadn't logged in at the time. It can be done, sure. Like, guilds have been carrying undergeared characters for generations at this point, right? We've done that every single time. Badge gear isn't really going to get you to the point where you can hold your ground. Like, you won't be, like, not on the damage meter or anything like that. But to hold your ground compared to the rest of the guys, no. I'm going to say I'm going to give a big no to that. Unless you're talking about, like, Sunwell badge gear, which is way after BT's current content. So, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, the later tier of badges did prepare you for content that was already kind of old at that point. So you could make that argument, I suppose. these posts like, I cannot come back mid-expansion and raid with my friends. That's not true. Like, that's like a vanilla, maybe half TBC thing. That's not been the case since Wrath of the Lich King. We've had catch-up for the longest time. Yes, you could buy raid gear with badges from 5-mans, but it was considerably more difficult, right? That's the same system we kind of have now. You can get very good gear by doing 1 mythic plus 10. It's actually the most efficient way to gear, as we saw in the Fresh Character series, is to do 1 high-level mythic and then just log the fuck out. But it's going to take you a really long time in order to catch up compared to like just playing the game. Okay, you do know the item level is already increasing linearly, do you? Yes, it does. The only difference is the offset between each tier and inclination of the slope. Correct. Now, if we're talking about power granted by item level, that's a different story. Now, the target preacher can be interesting to listen to sometimes, italics, but he's always trying to capitalize on anything controversial. And he gets petty, tiring in the long run. Yeah, that's just not true, unfortunately. The evidence is pretty self-evident on the channel. However, let's talk about the actual important point. If we're talking about power granted by level, that's a different story. Yeah, so this is about power inflation, is that the difference between like 20 item level gap is huge right now. Absolutely enormous. We've seen 5k DPS differences, like 30k single target, and somebody 10 item levels or 15 item levels below is like doing 25, 23k. It's a huge difference if you talk about damage per second, that is, right? That is an enormous difference. The power, despite they keep crushing the stat squishes, they just seem to blow up power even more and more. Now, I understand that they want people to feel more powerful as their character gets stronger, but there's no reason that can't take an entire expansion like it used to. It did used to do that, whereas there's a very slow, gradual power increase, and then you compare sort of an end gear character to a starter character, and there's a vast difference. I don't need a vast difference between all-day normal and all-day heroic. Like, it's too short a time period to have that kind of massive gap, in my opinion. Okay, I'm confused. You said there's no point in playing after seeing content. Well, I'm pretty sure the main argument against Timeforge Warforge is that you are forced to replay content you've done. Also, what's the point in removal? Oh, let's take that first line. Yeah, on the face of it, you can always get upgrades. That's true. You can always get upgrades. However, there is a realistic soft cap you can reach, which is within your difficulty sector, right? That's the problem. So on the face of it, it's like Warforged Titanforge is supposed to incentivize you to replay. Unfortunately, what's actually happened is because they do a complete clean sweep reset of gear and then massively jump the item levels up that's accessible from the same content you were already doing previous to, like, date on Tuesday, so we get our reset on Wednesday. The same content I'm doing on Tuesday, on Wednesday will be a ridiculously large gear jump. So when I log in on Wednesday, I could just do whatever and replace. Even if the problem we're facing is, if you're a heroic raider or whatever, is that if you farm, you clear the content. So let's look at raiding. Let's just drop the others out, but it's the same thing everywhere else, right? So if you do like Jaina, and you've really no interest in Mythic outside of like the first 3 bosses, which are puggable, right? Is you can go back week after week and chase Titan Forges and things like that. And occasionally you're going to get lucky and you're going to get something really good. And unfortunately, it doesn't really matter because when that new patch comes out where everything bumps up, is you'll just replace it anyway. And you've already killed the content you want to do. So it doesn't help you. That's the point. It doesn't help you. Getting that 420 after you've beaten Mythic Jaina or the 425 or whatever is irrelevant. I can kill Mythic Jaina faster, but I'm still going to replace it. So you have this sort of dichotomy where it's like, I am getting stronger somewhat, crawling up. So the gear scaling kind of goes like this very quickly, a very steep curve, and then it really like immediately levels off and starts like chasing 1 or 2 item levels. That's the thing. Also, what is the point in removing normal and heroic dungeons? That's the first post. Yeah, I don't agree with that either. Heroic should be more difficult, though, I think. Heroics is Pandora's box, or what we call the Cataclysm problem. The Cataclysm problem was that they tried to bump up heroics. Blizzard did not want, it should be noted here, Blizzard did not want heroics to be super easy, but the community said no. So they're kind of stuck now. That's why they just changed the names of Mythic. Like, and everyone was like, oh, okay, it's Mythic, right? You know what I mean? We could argue that heroic might be redundant to have, but definitely not normal. I agree. Normal you can do while leveling. Heroic's the end game one. I mean, I'm kind of fine with it. I've got used to it. I don't think it's a big deal. And then they created Mythic dungeons, so the issue with the dungeon difficulties has solved itself, in my opinion. Oh, this is that band guy again. Oh, this guy's got to reappear, isn't he? That's how you get them YouTube books. I often wonder though if these kind of guys are confusing me with someone else. He just needs one of many people with agenda stirring shit up where he can get his agenda I have an agenda. What's my? I do want to get the game better for as many people as possible. That's my agenda. And stirring shit up is the best way to attract masses he needs. No, there's just a no there. We've had the topic of preach several times before, and it always boils down to the same thing. People raging like babies at his existence. Yeah, true. But not always painting the game with flowers and rainbows. His critical discussions aren't even half his content. Yeah, thank you, Whisker Art. Very nice. Very nice, thank you. Yeah, I agree. Not just because it's positive, but the thing with MMO Champion, for sure, is that the threads that appear there are always the ones that have some sort of controversy tied to them, even though I didn't think this one would have. I'll be genuinely honest, I didn't think it would have. And it was only here. Like, everyone else didn't care. It was only on here. But I think if that's the only thing, like this, maybe this guy, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Maybe this guy only ever sees threads about me on MMO Champion, which are controversial and go into these big sort of long-winded mega threads that maybe he just assumes I do this all the time. But unfortunately, not the case. It all comes down to preference, though. I for sure enjoy the increased amount of gear, but I do understand his point of view. Okay, so finally something, but it's not really clear. I do want the counterpoint pretty desperately. It all comes down to preference. I enjoy the increased amount of gear. Just because you're getting more. That's my question. Is it like just because there's more? Is that it? Just because I'm getting more? Is that as simple as it is? I mean, that's all I can read into that without more. But I would like to expand on that if possible. Yes, the item level inflation was much lower in the past. It's true. You can actually just check this. I'm sure we'll see this repeated somewhere else in the thread. But you can just check it. If you go and check even Legion at the Antorus patch, the inflation and stuff is less. World bosses and all that kind of stuff are just less. They don't bring you up to the standard they do now. I'll prevent the case. Yeah, you don't need to go back that far. You can go back to Legion and check it. It's close because obviously through Legion it was creeping up, but it was less. Good video, preaches right. Thank you, but like some expansion. That's the first bit. Watched it this morning. Typical whining. Okay. That mythic gear is special. No. No. With slight hints and questions whether casual players are okay with the current gear model. Nothing slight about it. It was pretty obvious. And swear is yes. They are, because they can now say, screw you elitist assholes. Why can they do that? And just do casual content while being nicely rewarded for it. Oh, okay, so you think... Okay, yeah, this is the... it's the often retorted argument, and you can't win against it. It's... I find this kind of answer where you put yourself in an unlosable situation. And the answer is, I like it. You can't argue. That's not a debate. Right? It would be if you were in a debate class and you answered something like "I like it," or you put something on, it's like you're trying to take away my fun is generally the big one. I find this fun. You're trying to take away my fun. Now let's be clear on one thing. I never said we should remove casual content or anything like that. Like, I don't care that casual players who only play a little while have various avenues to get gear from. Fine. I do care that top-end players who are well past the general reward structure for that tier of content still really need to do that, which we do have to do. Like, there's no getting around it. As some people say, I don't do it. Good for you, but if you want to be competitive, you do need to do those things because they're all accessible, right? So, again, I see it kind of like the Mythic tax, but I also want to point out here is that we're okay with it generally as Mythic Raiders. You are generally okay with the fact that a lot of the game will revolve around the average player, which it should, because that's the vast majority of people. And there are going to be some things that change every expansion, literally every expansion, that are really annoying for you to do as a Mythic Raider, but it's the way the game is, and we also understand why that happens. So grinds and things like that get added in. Okay, we understand it. The tax side of it is that usually we have to do it a little bit more extreme in order to maintain it. And BFA has been the worst, specifically because of Azerite armor and traits and how strong they are, is we've had to do a lot more of the casual content that we have no business being in or doing simply because of this like extra tax on there. But in terms of removing access for the casual players, no. Elitist assholes. I don't get this. What's the elitism? This hurts people like Preach the most. What hurts me? Hang on a minute. The answer is... yes, they are, because now they can say, screw you assholes. How can they say screw you? And just do casual content while being nice. Why is that a screw you? What's the screw you part? I don't get that. It hurts people like Preach. The whole concept of players should aspire to be better got shattered into a million pieces. Yeah, that is true. That part's true. Yeah, we do know this is the case. Is players just give up. Okay, that's fine though. Like, that's fine though. If people don't want some play, not everybody. Like the idea that this is everybody is also grossly over exaggerated. No, it's not, because obviously the thousands upon thousands of people who contact me are people who are trying to get better. But yeah, on the whole, people don't. They just give up. Particularly, although we need some context to this. He's referring to the Ghostcrawler post where they hoped in Cataclysm, again, the Cataclysm problem. I probably need to do a video on the Cataclysm problem, don't I? Is that they hoped people would try and get better when they made the heroic dungeons more difficult. People didn't. But there's context to that. There's more to it than what you can read in a fucking tweet, right? A tweet is very limited. And that's also that for the last 2 years of Wrath of the Lich King, people have gotten used to logging in and doing a daily heroic with zero issue whatsoever. It was part of their nightly ritual. And then in Kata, that was taken away from them. So people just didn't want to do it. They wanted it back to the old ways. So you've got to bear that in mind. Although looking at recently, I've looked at the ratios of people taking part in harder content as Blizzard have tried to make the game easier via pruning and stuff. The ratios haven't changed. So there is a lot of truth to it, is that people who have no interest in getting better will never have an interest in getting better. And there's only a certain amount of the population who will learn and get better. But some people do it. But most people don't, actually. They just give the fuck up, which is why I don't push my guides on people. I said this since Kata, actually. I started making guides in Kata, and at the start of if you go back to my very first videos, I broadcast to the group that, hey, I'm recording this for YouTube and making guides and things like that. And I tried to whisper people, it's like, hey, you should try to do this and that. People got very negative, very angry. I stopped doing that within 3 weeks and just put the content out there. And those few people who do want to get better, they'll come and find me because they'll be looking for ways of improving. And that's what worked for me anyway. So yeah, not wrong there. This screw you bit, I don't know what that means though. Can't use your own brain. Why need others to think for them? All right, that's obviously very aggressive, like it's a sheep thing. But honestly, the advantage of having people like myself and Bay and Bell, Taliesin and so on and so forth, going out and doing this stuff is we generally research a lot to back up what we're saying. Because obviously this is useless generally, right? It's not thinking for them. It's like you might have a feeling and then we go and try and research it and find out what the truth is. And sometimes I'm proven wrong. It's happened regularly. Is that I'll believe something, go and check it, and it's wrong. But you have to be able to go out and find things out and source things. So you can't do that on a day-to-day basis if you're working all the time. And also, people might share an opinion is another way of looking at this. People might just share the opinion. I agree, right? That's not using your brain. It's like, okay, that's pretty good. He's demonetized. Thank you, the Scourge. Anyway, he's not wrong. Giving's fundamentally flawed. Thank you for pointing that out. So I guarantee this will be ignored. I watched the video yesterday, quit a few weeks back, mostly for that reason. There's less incentive to Mythic Raid. It wasn't just about than ever, considering Heroic Gear Warfare is Titanfall World Boss. That's true, but remember the video wasn't focused on Mythic at all. On top of that, the gear treadmill has never meant less. Can anyone honestly name a single piece of gear? Yeah, this is true. We did talk about this, which is stats. I can't. I know when we did the video where we did that challenge, which was like, can you name the gear you're wearing? People were like, Heart of Azeroth. 10 out of 10 trolling there. I do have an Ignition's Mage Fuse. I know that. There's also very little to no agency of your character. No choices matter. There's no RPG elements left in this MMORPG. It has become an MMO ARPG. Ooh, action RPG? It'd be a bad one if we were describing it as that. More in common with Diablo 3 than WoW Vanilla or EverQuest. The game was better when you had to beat A to get to B. Oh, so you're talking about linear progression, okay. Every patch makes everything step A with different difficulties. It doesn't really matter again because Mythic rating's been devalued to such an extreme by M+. Kind of. The M pluses, I don't know whether this is kind of a common theory amongst a lot of people, but like I said, there's people in my guild who are MDI, Mythic pluses. They take it very, very seriously and they do a lot of it. They rarely get upgrades. Again, this soft cap exists where there is Titan Forges that will go really high, but the chances of getting them are so astronomically small that even if you're smashing Mythic Plus all the time, you're not getting that much out of it, unfortunately. It's right, it's lack of RPG. I agree with that. One of the reasons I enjoyed the classic pre-look that we got, the demo, whatever you want to call it, was the RPG elements. Like, the gameplay was awful. Let's not forget that. The gameplay was the fucking worst, but the RPG elements were really fun. Checking the map, preparing to go out on an adventure. All these little elements do matter. Nice post, like it. Action RPG, though. Don't agree with that. It would be a pretty terrible action RPG. The incentive to replay content is because you think the game is fun. Ah, yeah, I was expecting this. If you do not think the activity is enjoyable, it's silly to do it over and over again. Spend your free time doing something else you actually enjoy. Yeah, true, but that's the problem, right? We want a persistent world. This isn't Diablo. We want a persistent MMO world. I want to play with the guys in my guild. I love playing with them. but there's no reason to play this game with them. And that's the issue. We are going playing something else. Like, what you're talking about is like, you feel like this is, I think you think this is a very positive thing. It's like, if you're not enjoying yourself, go play something else. Yeah, that is what's happening. That's a bad thing, right? That's a bad thing is what you're saying right now, is people are leaving and going playing something else, which is not good for the game, right? I think we can all agree that encouraging people like, yeah, just go play something else. Okay. We are doing that. That's not the point. Like, if I look at my Discord right now, most people are playing Apex, and some people playing Division 2. They're all just playing other things. So that's something to bear in mind there. Okay. This doesn't work for Mythic Guilds. You can't just pick up... this is a reply to the last post. They can't just pick up and go at patch drops. They have to maintain from patch to patch. No one cares to keep playing. It's a major problem. That's exactly what I just said. It's worse than this expansion. The treadmill is broken. People think I've killed it on heroic. I'm done here and logged till next patch. Yeah, that's the feedback I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. Is exactly that. Thank you. I think this guy watched the video. There is no point other than pride and friendship to suffer through months of Mythic, only for game to be trivialized next patch. True. That's what people are saying. Or to see someone in normal heroic decked out. I imagine at some point the mount's going to come up, which is not going to work out well. I don't think. It's become a why bother moment. Yeah, that's the nature of the video that I made. This is the Screw You Elitist Arseholes post. This is why BFA is doing so well now, right? Well, we don't know how well it's doing. That's the problem. We have no idea. Why BFA is voted largely the single worst expansion on every single poll. That's true. That's why Mythic Raiding is dead. This expansion can't be saved. I think BOD is good. I don't say it was dead. Redoing it is dead, which ultimately there'll be less people who keep coming back. I think that's the issue which I'm trying to put out there right now is, as more and more people have now, because the Uldir to BOD, as I said in the video, is the big swap. That's when people were like, what the fuck? I've just replaced everything. And I replaced my Azerite armor with World Quest gear. What? Like, what the hell? It took me ages to get that perfect piece of Azerite, and now it's gone. Great. This really sucks. And every time people are logging out because there's no point in replaying the content, then less people come back each time, and ultimately we're looking at a bad thing. And this happens to not just Mythic Raiders, Heroic Raiders, and so on and so forth. Preach to be raised more value than... Oh, okay, this is a personal thing. All right, fair enough. Move on. Move on. We're only on one page. Oh, my God. Okay. The incentive to keep playing is to maintain the guild. Yeah, that's... If you think raiding is suffering, why on earth would it be how you spend your free time? Because we love raiding. We love doing it. But loving something and just doing it week after week after week for no real reason is not realistic. Maintain the guild, that's just like you're instantly going into sort of like life support mode, like trying to keep the guild going. It's actually better, and I've seen a lot of guys do this. It's actually better. Like, we've had a number of players who've just gone to Final Fantasy XIV for something to do because they want to play together, but there's nothing to do in WoW. So that's what they're doing. There's no point. We say this to everybody. Like, you can't force people to play WoW because they'll hate it every single time. And that's it's so much worse. It's so much worse. Actually, the YouTubers provide solid few perspectives on the game. Their popularity is partially due to the number of people who are looking to validate their own opinions. Why was it shit because Priest says so? Why was it shit because it is? She simply shares that opinion. I actually think BFA is changing. I want to be clear on this. I do think BFA is about to get better, which draws in some subs. There are plenty who do not agree with it and still play WoW. Doesn't make either side unintelligent. That's fair enough. The issue about gearing, mainly from my view, comes from multiple difficulties. Don't get me wrong, I love having multiple difficulties and I can choose the one I like. The issue comes from people redoing the content so much that they burn out on it. I don't think people are really doing that anymore. I can't speak for everybody, though. I am unsure what the solution is, given if you remove one tier of difficulty, affects a lot of people who enjoy said difficulty. So I will point out here, I'm actually okay with the 4 difficulty choices. The skill gap and time commitment and all these factors that each individual player has means that they can do 1 to 4. The issue is the jumping of scaling. Like, LFR to normal, I see very, very little difference at all. And I find that really odd. Like, and then heroic isn't a big of enough jump from normal. Like, between LFR to heroic, so that's 3 out of 4 of the difficulties. The difficulty rise is really shallow. And then Mythic's, like, extraordinarily high. Certainly after about Opulence. In BOD, it like extraordinarily jumps up, and the amount of BOD is kind of a weird example because if you're a regular Mythic farming guild, so you do it every tier pretty much, then it's just Jaina that's the problem generally. But the spike in difficulty is unfair because not only do you need to maintain that 20-man roster, but the spike in difficulty from heroic to Mythic again, certainly after Opulence, is astronomically huge compared to like LFR, normal, and heroic. Like those 3 tiers are really too close together in my opinion, but I understand why they have 4 difficulties. I'm fine with 4 difficulties is what I should say. I know that I burned out a while during trying to... So he's talking about repeating content. I'm sorry if I skipped some stuff, but talking about repeating content. I don't think people really do that anymore. But that's my own opinion. People might be doing that. So I think that's a personal choice. If you're farming lower level content for Titan Forges, God be with you. I'm not going to do that. I know my guild didn't do heroic after the second week. There was just no point. As we said, we'd replaced all our gear in Mythic Plus and everything else. Like there was really no reason. Getting some nice Azerite pieces is kind of worth, but other than that, not really. And then we just stick to Mythic. I thought it was Legion of WoD before that. I thought it was Legion of WoD before that. A mop before that. Oh, this is the like WoW's always dying thing. Yeah, people are always saying that. I didn't always say that. I've always pointed out problems, but yeah, some people... Mythic is dead because it's hard nowadays to find sweaty, stable raiders on your server, which kind of counts to the lower population. And also the jump. There's multiple factors here, as with everything. Yeah, finding 20 stable raiders, not easy, especially because the difficulties jump so high. And now we mix in the personal loot, the selfishness situation that we've seen recently. There's a lot of reasons people don't make it into Mythic. And they want to. So it's not a case of I think everybody should do Mythic, because I know it gets twisted that way. It's the people who want to raid Mythic, but are totally unprepared for what it's like, which is really unfair. They may have even pugged the first 3 bosses, and they're like, I could do Mythic just fine. And then they get in there and they hit a boss like Mechatark or Blockade, and they're like, what the fuck, man? I need to play like perfectly here. And then they get to Jade, and it's like, oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. I'm not raiding anymore. I quit a few weeks ago. First time since Vanilla I've unsubbed. Aww. But I'm just not digging the current direction of the game. Again, it's more in common with ARPG. Okay, the ARPG thing, yeah. But Mythic raiding can feel like a slog, certainly can. If you've ever been there, you'd know that people just talk about Mythic raiding typically gets rewarded for their trouble, but not in BFA. The gap between haves and have-nots has completely disappeared. Once everyone is special, no one is. So people have left BFA in droves over it. I feel that way. I feel that's a big issue, but it's not just about Mythic raiding. Mythic raiding has been unrewarding since like Legion, certainly since Tomb of Sargeras, where we killed Jaden once and never went back. Like there was no point. It was just nobody needed anything from it. We got it from elsewhere. Like heroic is so incentivized. Heroic's like the perfect difficulty right now. Heroic is so well incentivized that Mythic raiding is like just for killing it once, which is why we see people do things like kill Jaden once, Gahoon once. Argus got farmed for the mount, but Argus was extremely forgiving on Mythic. Once you knew what to do, obviously. Yeah, and Gahoon was the same. Like, nobody went back. It just wasn't worth it. So there's... It's like a mount is the only thing keeping people clearing things. The population at high-end game is dead as fuck. Maybe. I need to check the numbers on that, potentially. I don't know whether that's just a feely feel or numbers. Why bother suffering through the grind of Mythic for alpha hours, etc.? It's true. I'm hearing that a lot. You can pug heroic. You can pug heroic. You're not pugging anything past opulence without an extremely select pug, let's put it that way. The content doesn't appeal much to the high-end player or the wannabe player. But it's not just the end game. It's not just that. Okay, it's such an important subject. Not sure what you mean here. People stop raiding once they've beaten the last boss. How does that differ from the past? What? People always farmed for the next tier. That was the idea. But it is the change that maybe, I don't know, that feels weird. But maybe that's that player. But generally speaking, the weirdness now is there's so much loot, so much loot in the game that by the time you get to like the next boss, people have already got most of the stuff they want from the previous bosses already, which is a further disincentive to keep playing, which is where Warforged Titanforge is supposed to come in and make up the gap, but even that now is dead. So you've had these two knock-on effects. One, let's increase the amount of loot that drops. Oh no, people have everything they want, like I just said with Kill Jaden, by the time they are killing that boss. They already have everything they want from the previous tier. So now we want to put in Warforged and Titanforge in order to incentivize them to keep playing the game, because they want to play the game, right? It's not a force. They want them to play the game, and the players want to play the game. But now we're running out of reasons because Warforged and Titanforge has also lost all meaning because of the massive gear resets. So that's how it differs from the past, by the way. Typically, your gear, tier sets and things like that, and certainly Legos and stuff, were a very ongoing process. And you could expect to last a few weeks at least into the new tier before you'd replaced everything. Now you can do it in... I know I did it in about 4 days. And that wasn't by heavy farming either. I spent 2 of those days leveling professions and shit and doing mythic zeros. Okay. Too bad for the people doing normal and heroic only or do not raid. Of course, these people do not matter to you and people like Preach. What? What the fuck? Okay, sure, whatever. But no. No. Here's that banned guy again. Thinking that WoW is shit is the favourite pastime of your average tardy. I wonder why you got banned. WoW was shit in Legion. It was shit in Mop and it was shit in Wrath of the Lich King. No. Mr. Pandaria started badly. But it turned it around. I'm hoping BFA does the same. I mean, your bloody sig shows how backloaded your opinion is. And I say this as a guy who started this game back in vanilla. I don't know. Muad'Dib. I like the name, by the way. There's Muad'Dib. What's his signature? You like classic. Oh, okay. I assume this guy does not like classic. The choice is clear indeed. It's BFA because by all rights vanilla was pretty bad and we praise it because alternatives about them are much worse. True. I'm not a big classic guy. Classic might be fun on the side. Legion is the 3rd or 4th most beloved expansion behind Wrath and TBC. It is held in high regards. It is, because by the end, the legendary RNG had kind of disappeared and people had what they wanted. Especially with Mythic Raiders and high-end gamers, MOP has also aged well because most people feel that particular class played the best during that expansion. Not for me, but I get the argument. Yeah, same for me, actually. The Warrior, which is my favourite class in the game, was the worst in Mr. Pandaria. But Mr. Pandaria did turn it around. It started badly with the... there's got to be a shit ton of dailies. You don't need to do them. By the way, to get the legendary, you need to do all the dailies. Oh, shit! And all that kind of stuff. It's pretty fucking bad. And, of course, people hated the announcer of Miss Pandaria because of pandas. Like, they were forced to play it. Like, I remember making that video. I was like, you don't have to make a panda. Like, what are you angry about? This is for people who enjoy making a panda. I don't get it. One was generally considered the worst by far until BFA. BFA has taken that crown and ran so far ahead of it. Will BFA... I don't know. BFA's not over yet. BFA could turn it around. I think it might do it. Even the most positive YouTubers like Big Bell, who, if you cut him, his blood will literally spill out Blizzard. Not anymore. Blizzard's Bellula's moving on to just gaming news, man. Like, Bell's moving on, man. He sees the lights. He sees the lights in the distance which say we can't stick with this game anymore. He's been honest that BFA is pretty foobar. Yeah, he does. He does. It's sad to see. I never thought I'd see Bell, like, fucking start cutting away, but he has done that. Vanilla was 10,000 times better than game. Okay, I'm not getting into the classic argument. That is just a can of worms. Why are people playing? This is the actual question. Is it for gear? Is it for kills? Is it for the best gear? Is it for the hardest kills? Or is it for doing it a group of people you actually like? The whole concept of gear in these times just stands there to be able to do it the way you like. Why bother grinding gear if you never use it at all? You don't need great gear to world quest. You only need it if you face a wall. You can't beat while playing it the best you can, no matter what difficulty. Thus, gear progression is fine right now. No. No, there's a lot in there. Is it for gear? Probably. There are still people, even today, with the current gearing system who really, really care. I've seen people get very excited about a 0.2% DPS upgrade according to The Sims. I don't feel that way. I never have. But still, people do care about gear. Is it for kills, which is a one-time thing? So this is often an argument we get thrown at us. It's like, it's the prestige. I'm sure that'll come up somewhere. Especially for those guys who thought I was talking about mythic rating. Is it for the prestige? That's a one-time deal. Unfortunately, it's a one-time deal. Killing Gahoon is a one-time deal. Killing Killjane is a one-time deal. You don't get that prestige the second time around. It doesn't happen. Is it for the best gear? Well, you can't do that anymore. Is it for the hardest kills? So do you want to raid mythic? Sure. Or is it to doing it in a group of people you actually like? Yes, but you don't have to play WoW to do that, unfortunately. Gear progression is fine right now. Well, obviously, I disagree, but I would like some emphasis on that, because I don't think you've given me a reason to believe that. Like, explain to me why it's fine right now. What walls are you hitting? And what the gear overcomes it. So I had some guys contact me about January, like, what item level... In fact, a better example would be the Mage Tower. Often people... Because I did every Mage Tower. You might remember. I did them pretty early on. People contacted me, like, a tier or so later. Like, what item level do I need for the Mage Tower? And it's still, even to this day, people don't understand the difference between a well-itemized lower item level set and just having high item level with really poor itemization. And thinking that's the wall. Like, interrupting... Let's take the tanking Mage Tower challenge. Being able to deal with twisted reflection and all that kind of stuff is nothing to do with gear. That is all skill and play. Managing your cool... It's stuff that you can't survive with just gear, but you need cooldowns for, like the stacking damage taken in the tanking Mage Tower. That's not gear, but gear will DPS it quicker, so you might deal with one less, but that's kind of all you're beating out of it at that point. So it's still it's very difficult to explain to most people, especially now Blizzard put item level is such a big fucking thing. The item level is a really relative term. It's all about it's why we use Master Loot, by the way, because we get high item level while getting high idyllic stats, which is the best way to gear your character. We will not see eye to eye on this, so we can agree to disagree. Fair enough. Okay, those two disagree. Fine. Blizzard should remove catch-up mechanics. No, so you're forced to do all content. No, I don't think it'd work. Yeah, the linear side. I've thought about it. I've researched it. I've looked into it. It's too late to go back. The interesting thing is when we did have pure linear progression, is people accepted that as the norm because that's how the game was. Like it wasn't people. People might believe that in vanilla people were crying out to be able to go straight to AQ40. They weren't. They really weren't. Feeder guilds were getting upset, but that's because they let themselves become feeder guilds, which you can totally just get away from. But it's too late now. You've given everybody, for what, a decade, we've given everybody access to the latest raid almost straight away. TBCs are kind of a mixed bag on that one. But still, like, from Wrath of the Lich King onwards, we certainly did that. You're never going to be able to just turn around and say, right, you guys can no longer do this content. Ayo! That's not going to happen. Catch-up mechanics are fine, as long as they're catch-up mechanics, I think. I don't think you need to be heroic raid level, which you can get without too much difficulty if you've got a reasonable... If you have a reasonable semblance of how to play the game, like I've said before, if you're really bad at the game and don't know it, well, it's not really your fault, because the game doesn't do well at teaching you, I don't think. But if you're really got some decent gear, even if you're like 385 now, which is mythic raid quality from the last raids here, but still don't know how to play, it doesn't matter what gear you have. As soon as you get into the raid, people are going to be like, get out. You're not going to be contributing to the kill, let's put it that way. Your progression is a meaningful way and rewarding as you make it yourself. If it sure isn't meaningful, if item level is all you look at. Title forging is not the best of features. Okay, so maybe we've got some expansion on why this is good. I am looking for this stuff. But don't forget that it's there to literally force all those who clear the new raid in 2 weeks with tricks and tactics. What tricks? I think he thinks that leveling the professions is a trick, maybe. And tactics to get the most loot. Yeah, to get the most loot out of it for main characters. To continue playing and not cry. Of course, if you're upset at something, you're crying, by the way. You can't have a negative opinion without being a crying baby. And how there is no content to play. But what progression are we speaking of? Gear progression? You ruined it yourself by rushing. Did you use the tools in the game? Ruined it. Story progression. That's not true, by the way. I was a bit facetious there, but that's not what happened. Basically, we had, for people who did it, including my guild, which did do all the crafting and stuff, it was literally to trigger the hidden tick box that all your characters have that say you can trade loot. Like, we didn't use the crafting items. I went back, because I got benched, I went back and did use the crafting items because it was a way of gearing my character, just as it was supposed to be. But actually, this wasn't a case of rushing. It was a case of being able to just trade loot as we always could do in the past. So, unfortunately, the facts of this don't really add up. Story progression. You would rush it too. Because of this, it has to be gated. And even then, let's be real, most elitists... Oh, the elitists. Okay. Most elitists don't care. They just want loot to show how much better they are than everyone else. Yeah, this just isn't true. At least not anybody I know. There are definitely people who... Asmon's a good example of this, actually. He raided for loot and doesn't do it anymore because he can't be the best. So there are people who... And there are no doubt other people who feel the same way, who definitely enjoyed doing ridiculously hard content and playing forever just so they could have a higher item level, I guess. But since transmog, I just don't dig this as a thing because nobody knows if you've got good gear without having to go out of their way to check you on like WoW Progress or inspect you and stuff like that. And individually check what's happening with you. Since transmog came into the game, I feel this is a very weak discussion that people want to be better than everyone else. I have to tell you, the best players in the game that I know don't pug because they don't want anything to do with it. You'd never meet them. It's a true story. They just don't want to pug in any way. They won't even play the game if they can't do it with only guildies, and you would never bump into them. You would just never occur to them unless you were like in a stream run with somebody who's in the guild or something. Replace title forging with valor points. For what? Instead of... Again, it's crying, right? It's amazing you have a picture of Conan But everybody's crying for the lamentation of the Titan Forgers. About the one piece of gear you still don't have is Titan Forge not dropping. You would cry. Everyone's crying, of course, about having to spend all your Valor points and nothing else to do. Of course you would. While I agree that there are far too many raid and dungeon difficulties now, I don't agree. I don't see a point in rewarding elitists with elitist stuff so they can prove how elitist they are. You got elitist 3 times in one sentence? Motherfucker, that's impressive. So it's elitists with elitist stuff so they can prove how elitist they are. Right. How does that affect everybody else who's having these issues, who don't care about Mythic at all? Because I think we've proven statistically and fundamentally, a lot of people have no interest in Mythic raiding, and they're still having problems. How does this add up to the elitist elitism that's elitely going around in an elite fashion? 90%. Oh, the 90% and the 99%. Oh, I love this. Okay, so there's no data to back this up. I fucking wish there were, because it would answer a ton of my questions as a content creator. It would absolutely answer so many of my questions. There is no data to back any of this kind of shit up, but the conviction, the sheer conviction people have on being correct on the numbers of people doing X activity is astonishing. All we really know about is raiding, pretty much, and a little bit of Mythic Dungeons. We have no data to back this up. So I don't know what he's going to say. I'm just saying that anytime you see 90%, 99%, everybody, you know, these ridiculous generalizations, there's no data. I wish there was. I've tried. I've really tried. I promise you. 90% of players won't see the last boss on Mythic in this expansion anyway. Based on what? How do you know that Jaina's not going to be nerfed to the fucking ground? Like, you've no idea what's going to happen. Isn't the fact that they could do something 90% of the players would never be able to accomplish, and 99% not in the same time enough for them? For what? Oh, again, it's all about Mythic raiding. Like, I don't see this. I don't think this watched the video at all. Like, there's no way you watched this video. Guess not. Bet they all must be driving super expensive sports cars. Fucking kill me. And wear the most expensive clothing. I have, this shirt is a charity t-shirt from Games Done Quick. This is my own wristband that I give away at PreachCon. I do have a pair of Nike trainers on, though. So I guess you could say I'm pretty elitist. They realize to show everybody how superior they are. Oh, wait, they can't because they focus their efforts on being best at a video game. Yeah, they enjoy their hobby. Those sons of bitches. They really like this game, and so they got really good at it. Arseholes. Trying to extend the item level gap that is already there. No, so they won't be mixed up with casuals? Who's inspecting people? What are you talking about? What is this? As much as crying every major patch, we're crying again. My God, I'm running out of water. I'm dehydrated. I know that the awesome gear you collect is obsolete, so it can now be replaced with something better. Mythic Raiders already get exclusive mounts and better looking gear. I mean, that's totally subjective, right? There's lots of, sure, whatever. Older LFR normal sets might as well have been fished up from a dumpster look-wise. I can tell you with 100% certainty, I have no idea what the gear looks like in BOD. I have absolutely no idea. I don't think I've seen anybody in my raids transmog change for like a year. And yet they still need more? What more are we asking for? Maybe a group of slaves to carry around their massive ego. You are a bitter motherfucker, man. Holy shit. I do understand your argument, but it's wrong. Well, there it is. Pot. Kettle. Pot. Kettle. I think it needs some self-reflection. We got a real problem right here on the floor. The problem is how gear is distributed, but rather how people think they need to F the system. Try the Crusade on the phone. You don't need to raid all the goals. Yeah, this is what I was saying before. And no matter what you do, what's accomplished, once clear Mythic, raid Heroic week 1, move on. Yeah, that's what we do. I can agree with that. Gearing is fine if done right. Up to the point. The choice is on the players. That's super good. Cool. Preaching other shitters. Oh, I've got to reply to this. The majority of hardcore players, high-rated PvP and Mythic Raiders, seem to agree with Preach more often. No, yeah, it is an opinion that's not been countered by any of my friends. I can say that. It generally seems to be lower skill casual players that aren't affected by the systems that people are talking about who disagree. I feel that too. I think there's a romanticism. Certainly, like in the case of this fucking lunatic here, there's a romanticism that's put on what they think is going on, but don't actually have any idea what's happening up there. Similar with what people thought about like the gearing thing that Method did. People, who said to me, it's like, oh, they poured a ton of gear on Gingy and fed him Azerite armor because he's so good. That wasn't the reason. It was because they were pretty sure that guy would be playing that class in the raid. That's all they cared about. It's really a very different story once you actually understand it. People stop listening to this whiny little bitch. Fuck, Vladimir. That's cold, dude. That's a good point. The only two activities you make full use of give out is instance PvE content. Yeah, this is true, but a lot of people don't like this, but it is absolutely true. Is the idea that this was my point about the legendaries actually in Legion when the legendaries were announced and the way they were going to drop the RNG, which, I mean, I was right on it ultimately. I was like, the RNG is total dick move. It's going to fuck over a lot of people who enjoy doing organized content and offers no real benefit to the guys who are doing world quests and stuff. Like, I have no issue if your game is coming home, doing world quests, getting your emissary, and then logging out to go and be with the kids. That's cool, man. You just enjoy the game and doing that. But the side effects and the negative effects of the system for anybody who plays a bit more than that was really apparent. As soon as one people got to play it, there's a point where you just don't need to be a nuclear missile to do world quests. It actually doesn't even speed it up in any way. There's no tangible benefit of having it, right? There's no tangible benefit whatsoever other than your personal screen is a higher number, but so is everybody else, right? It's literally happened to every single player, so there's no difference either way. Poppycock. Wow. I'm sad you got banned now. You used Poppycock. Oh, it's about vanilla again. I'm not bothered. But still, +1 for Poppycock. It's easy to bash those at the top, but if all the top player leaves, then what? Yeah, this is kind of something that's been thrown around a lot. It's like, good, let's get rid of mythic raiding and high-end stuff. Let's just chop we called it the head of the snake. We were talking about it pre-BFA. There are a lot of people who seem to think it's totally a good idea to keep removing chunks of the player base from the game. Yikes, dude. I mean, as much you think that's like a got 'em, I guess that's the idea. It's like a got 'em because you have some sort of anger at players who play at the top end for some reason. Maybe they treated you badly at some point, like bullies in a school. Maybe there are some bullies at the top end for sure. Like, I don't get why anybody would be okay. I don't want to remove the casual players. Like, what the fuck, man? I don't want to just chop pieces of the game out and just be like, bye. I think you would kill the game pretty fucking fast doing that. And even if you do that, right? Let's say we removed mythic raiding. So the mythic raiders, like, for them, heroic's like a waste of time, right? So you chop off that and you let them go. The heroic raiders, all that's going to happen is it's just going to happen again, but there's no place for those guys to go. Right? There's no place for those guys to go once they're doing heroic. Like, I don't get why you would ever think that would be a good idea. I've seen a mass exodus at the high end of raiding like I have in BFA. Yeah, a lot of people have gone. And I guess I'm one of them since I threw in the towel a few weeks ago. True. BFA is great for the casual bad players. Those aren't the same thing, by the way. Casual and bad are not linked. But for high-end, Blizz has basically told us to play other games, so we did. In a way, we're talking about the Mythic Raid tax here. You have to do a lot more now than ever before, more than ever, and it's so tedious. It's so much more tedious. Even the Warlords of Draenor. I said very early in BFA, I would rather play WoD than BFA. And I mean that because while it was dead and empty outside of raiding, for sure, and I hated that, I could still get everything I needed to do the one thing I still enjoyed in my garrison and be done with it. Now I can't, and it sucks. Amount of pet is no longer a proper reward. I do agree. I know some people covet that. Well, we'll talk about that at some point, I'm sure. Thinking that WoW is shit is a favourite pastime of your average tardy. Okay. I don't care if you still like WoW. Yeah, same. I don't care if you love BFA. I would like to be able to answer these questions that people are getting upset about because we're losing players, boys. Simple as that. I'll play every day. I don't like Modern WoW. I haven't really enjoyed the game since Kata. None of this is about my video. What the fuck, man? It's just, this is MMO Chat in a nutshell. We're on page 2. It's been, oh my God, it's been an hour. Okay. That's simply not true. I have multiple chars sitting at 400 item level, only doing M+, and I have one char sitting at 412 doing Mythic Raiding and the occasional M+. There is no upgrades in M+ at all for Mythic Raiding char, except for Warforged Titan Forge I won't bother about. Yep, that's true. Mythic Plus, if you are Mythic Raiding, you do Mythic Plus a lot in like the first couple of weeks, and then just 110 a week at best. Without gear as it is, with no replacements, gear would stagnate and people would get bored of shit like they did one. Preacher's a raider and, as in my experience, always seems to have a talent of trying to explain well. Oh, thank you, dude. What we need is less of this obsession on these complicated systems. Yeah, it's more complicated than ever. I imagine some people don't know how complicated the gearing process is because they're not understanding how complicated the gearing process is, which seems like a stupid thing to say, but it's true. Until you really understand it, it's excruciatingly complicated right now. Thank God for raid bots, honestly, at this point. Bring back gear vendors. Cut the... I'm not happy. I don't like gear vendors. I think gear vendors is fine for catch-up, but there's no fun in knowing the exact point you're going to get things. I do agree with what Blizzard said about Dragon Wrath, is that legendaries have become like, okay, on this date, I'll get the item. That takes away a lot of the excitement. I prefer random legendaries from boss drops. Don't shoot me. I was very, very happy when my dudes got like a Warglaive or Thunder Fury or something. I thought that was super exciting moments. I like those moments. We're going to skip a few of these. All right, let's talk about the banned people. Oh, this is the vanilla guy, right? Flash of Light in vanilla. Okay. True. BFA has lost a lot of customers for more reasons than Mythic raiding. Yep, it's affecting everybody, but this particular topic is on why the gear terminal is broken and never been more meaningless. And the BFA sucks raw threads. Yeah, exactly. This is affecting a lot of people. The focus so far has been heavily on Mythic raiding, which I guess I'm labeled. I can only imagine that the label I have is like a Mythic raider, and that's it. Elite, which then with some people that means, like we saw the other guys, like super elitist for some reason. And that's it. You paint the picture. Like you've painted a picture in your mind of what I'd probably said. We do not have agency in vanilla. Laugh my ass. I'll give was completely busted and scaling is all fucked. I love vanilla. I can't wait for it to come. But let's be honest. Yeah, vanilla was all over the place. It was a fucking mess. Gearing wise, vanilla was a mess. Is this about vanilla again? Why were you talking about vanilla? Like what the fuck? Okay. Effort can mean either time investment or doing something difficult or both. No, I disagree. Effort does not mean time invested. Like, as a generalization. I mean, time invested could also be just time online. Like, you shouldn't be rewarded for being online. I could sit on the loading screen of any game for hours and hours and hours. I shouldn't be getting something. Effort is doing something that requires effort. Right, and effort is a scalable factor. Like it's not a block. This is plus effort, right? Effort is a scalable factor. You could say there's effort in doing world quests, but the effort is traveling to them and sort of like spamming your keyboard to get them done. I would consider that very low effort. The time investment is something that triggers me because I saw this a lot when people were asking for really good profession things and legendaries actually in Legion. Is they believed by sheer amount of time I play the game. So this was the kind of counter to the guys who say I don't have time to play. But it's actually kind of not true in a lot of cases. Is a lot of the guys who have no time to play are online an awful lot. It's really quite strange. There are obviously definitely people who can only play a little bit. That's undoubtedly a thing. But there are a lot of people who claim they have no time to do X and Y, but are online a fucking lot. And I see that from personal experience as well. It's like, oh, I can't raid, dude. Yet they're online all the time. Even during raid times, those guys are online doing stuff. But they're not very good. But a lot of people do equate to just being online a lot should reward me in some way, just no matter what I'm doing, which I find absolutely crazy. I really do find it crazy. Like standing around doing nothing of any moderate effort and being heavily rewarded for it, I find crazy mentality. Okay, my next gear, again, with vanilla. I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and tell people they're stupid for agreeing with a YouTuber or any Twitch streamer. I don't think anybody ever got would get how funny this is, but that's really good. I'm just going to pretend it's not happening. I like it. Vanilla, again. Okay, have we got something about the video? Hold on to your PCs you're interested in upgrading. Oh, they're talking about valid tokens. Bitch, YouTube's money size. Oh, it's said again. I haven't seen anybody go, oh, okay. Played every expansion and also classic. It just amazes me how pointless gear feels in BFA. Yeah, it does. It's really sad, actually. Check again. I've not seen anything so far, so we've got a lot of argument already. What page are we on? We're on page 3. Yet anybody has said a benefit so far of the system. So far, there has been nothing of a benefit. Just all I've seen so far is wah, crying that nasty Mythic Raiders want to come and take something away, which is not what I suggested. I didn't really suggest anything. Mike's a dick or an arsehole or whatever. We've had that. Vanilla was better. Like, nothing at all has been like, actually, doing this and really raising the floor on the hype level has done this benefit for me. Like, I've benefited this way. I haven't seen that once yet. Will we fucking see that? While I think this guy is a turnip and always spouting nonsense, he has a point. A turnip? Fair enough. Although this isn't new to BFA, it happened in Wrath. Gear change right at the word go. Yeah, but Wrath did have linear progression. You certainly farmed Ulduar to prepare for the next tier. And TOC to go into ICC. That's undoubtedly true. In TBC, everyone had their own personal progression through raids. Somewhere Plateau was out, and you still have guilds working their way on Karazhan. And Maggies. Guilds were that's Magtheridon. Guilds were constantly at different tier progression. You worked your way up, losing members for them to advance was common. So was gaining new members to replace them. Hell, the Servitor Guild specifically had guilds at lower tiers as recruitment for their main tiers. Rarely, but that did happen. It was really, really nice. Okay, so you just want linear progression back. Which is something I've talked to. I don't know. But anyway, as a turnip, I agree. LOL. Preach is probably one of my least favourite YouTubers to listen to. LOL! That is funny. They're not going to remove Titanfall. Oh, you didn't watch it. Excellent. Okay. It's insanely popular with the casuals. Is it? Based on what? And the only legitimate complaint that us Mythic Raiders has had was addressed already. What was that? People don't seem to understand how rare and not worth fishing for a Titanforge proc is. Actually, that's the crux of the video. That's exactly what we're talking about. People don't want to do it. Because, what? Preach is an odd one because he doesn't understand, okay, that there is nothing that Blizzard can do that's going to make Mythic raiding more appealing. What? Stop guessing. Like, can you guys do me a favor? If you're going to bash me for what I'm talking about. Don't just make shit up like you think I'm talking about. The high end of raiding was stagnant long before. What is this about the Mythic raid scene? What are you talking about? They can remove all forms of raiding. Oh my god, this is so hard. This is why I hate you guys. Like some of you guys, like this guy. I hate you. Because you're like, lol, preach, I hate this guy. Proceeds to just talk about completely random shit that I've not talked about. I mean, he does mention the tax. Let me read it all. They could remove all other forms of raiding from the game completely and it wouldn't inspire anyone to step into Mythic. Right? We're such a small percentage of the game's population that catering to us would be an idiotic decision. Yeah, I don't want them to do that. The casuals prefer the game the way it is now. Based on what? Because I'm getting different information. Where is your source on this? And that's what keeps the game afloat. Based on what? Not us. Okay? We're here because this game is the best PvE hands down. We're not going anywhere. That's not what's happening. Okay? They can afford to tax as little. They can't afford to piss off the casuals though. Right? The previous tier have been obsolete at the start of next tier for a long time now. No. That's not going to change either. It can. If he wants to go back to the old way of doing things, didn't say that the entire industry has moved away from, he's more than welcome to wait for Classic and see how it works out for him. Oh, God, you absolute piece of shit. You know what bothers me? It's because you're so confident in what you're talking about, yet so utterly wrong. Ugh. Worst. It was fun in Legion. But for some reason, it isn't fun now. I haven't changed much, though. Of course, I think the reason his gameplay is worse. Okay, cool. Of course! I agree! I don't understand the Titan forging boogeyman either. You don't understand that people like working for a goal? Like, you can't understand that. You can't understand people like having a reachable endpoint. You don't understand that. It used to be somewhat a thing, but it's not now. Right. It's not anymore. It used to be a thing. Yeah. Mythic Raiders raid Mythic first and foremost because the raid challenge is fun for us. Correct. Raid is my cup of tea since vanilla. Correct. And same for me. And last several expansions. Same. Aside from some oddball raids were stellar and the quality is top notch and BFA is not the exception. I agree. BOD is one of the best raids ever. Purple Pixels becoming obsolete in the new raid series is something that is not that is a thing from TBC. No. Liar. Absolute liar. You can just check, dude. Like, this isn't hard to find out. There is no fucking way. There's no way you walked from the Black Temple into the Sunwell and, like, a few days later you were completely decked out. It's just not true, is it? It's not. It really isn't. You didn't go from Vash and Kael'thas into Hyjal and BT, and within, let's be generous and say 3 weeks, you were completely decked out and replaced everything you got in Tier 5. Let's go to Wrath of the Lich King. You didn't go from Nax to Ulduar and be completely done in 7 days. No, you weren't. Don't fucking lie, dude. What's the point? Like, stuff is so easy to check. Like, you're just lying. That's why I don't understand it. It's because you're lying to yourself. Did you eventually replace your gear as you went into a new tier? Of course you did. But you didn't just swap it out. Why are there people acting like the majority of people left who left? Well, I did so because Mythic is underrunning. Most people don't do Mythic. I know. Bingo, we have a winner. Mythic ratings are relevant to the average player point of view. Right? I don't get it. What are you talking about? What are you on about? Okay. But yourself has to bring thousands of players into the upper echelons of rating as the savior of WoW rating. Ah, sarcasm. Yeah, true though. Actually, it's in the tens of thousands. Ching! I'll take it. You guys can mock it. Oh, the personal fights. No, we're not bringing heels in. Oh no, what about them though? No, knows Mike. What about them though? Let's not do that. Vanilla was not 10. Okay, now back to vanilla again. Blizzard's forgot just how important psychology is when it comes to RPGs. True story. I wonder where this is going. Yes, gear will always be a driving factor, but if you drown everyone in loot for no effort, they won't care for it. True. This is the Homer Simpson thing we talked about earlier. If you allow everyone, no matter how little effort in the very latest content, people won't care for it. It's as simple as that. When I was gearing my first 16 Classic, I had so many goals to work on in order to get good gear and even to be considered to get into Molten Core. I couldn't spend 10 hours soloing Kalimdor clearing 3 requests to give me a game max level. Just like, what the hell? Yeah. Well, people who started playing in WoD or so probably had the most positive things to say about the current state of gearing. Sadly, I think people who joined in WoD or later are now the majority. Hence why the game has transitioned to a seasonal third-person... Oh, it's the ARPG aspect. Okay, maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll have to think about that. That is at least exactly what it feels like. And majority of content is self-contained, which just don't work that way. Yeah, this is the issue I'm having. Is my goal, what I want to prevent is people doing this seasonal login, logout thing, because it's not a seasonal game, and it's also really bad if the community just evaporates after a few weeks and then comes back months later. And now Blizzard aren't going to make massive, giant, interesting patches if we play this way. It's not going to happen. I agree. I have said this so many times. These YouTubers, Twitch people really do not help games in the long run. They just bring more negativity than positive to the game and are really only in it for the money. Ah, yes, all as millionaires sitting on our thrones. Unfortunately, that's not true. Yeah, none of that is true, actually. And we do help games in a big, big way because we care about them and we try and we want them to work for ourselves as well, right? We want them to work. We don't want to drive people out of the game that we made into our business. That might seem complicated, but it's true. I know I'm being sarcastic, but it's such a dumb opinion. And there's a reason that game companies are now turning to us on the regular. Like, my inbox fills with, please show this game off, because we do have positive effects, but we can also be, undoubtedly, we can also torpedo games without question. But generally, if that game is bad, and that's what you guys want as customers, right? Like, if something is bad, you want people who are coming out who you can trust to be like, this game is shit. It's really bad. And here's why, more importantly, instead of this, like, bullshit here. Form your own opinions. Stop looking up to these guys. They are gods. I don't think people look at me as a god. They're no more clued up than any other player. That's fundamentally untrue, though. In a lot of cases. That is fundamentally untrue. We tend to put more effort into looking at things. At least I can speak for myself there. Into looking into things a lot more detail than... well, certainly here, we believe every YouTuber in Twitch is some sort of millionaire who just wrecks games. That's all we do. We're just rolling in money while destroying video games. Vanilla, okay. Softbottom's agreeing with this. You bastard. You bastard. You guys didn't watch the video at all. You're premium and you didn't watch the video? How can you be premium and not watch the video? Like, none of this post here is anything to do with what I talked about. Like, what the fuck, man? These guys aren't your toxic ones. Okay. Here's the... Oh, he's back. It's the band guy. This guy was active as fuck. Oh, no shit. 11,000 posts. Dude fucking loves it. Okay. Oh, it's about vanilla again. Who fucking cares? I even used Perlise. Don't turn these shitters into saints, especially not Asmon, a clown that got his panties in a twist over Blizzard, putting him back in his place. I don't know what that's about. They're psychological vampires? What? What are you talking about? Psychological vampires? Oh my god. The guy, hey, shout out to you trying to defend me, but I don't think you're going to win this one, dude. The gap was not as big by far. Yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't. It's just a lie. This is to say it was. The majority of hardcore players seem to agree to preach more often. It generally seems to be lower skilled casual players that are affected by the systems that people are talking about, okay? Because they're so bad they don't even know that they're bad. Surfing 50% passes and thinking they're gods. And now they're afraid that their free gear will be taken. What? You think the hardcore high-end players getting free gear? Oh, okay. No, he's... sorry, I really confused me. But you mean the lower skill casual players. I have no issue with free gear. I just think there's way too much of it, and it's very disincentivized across the board because it's all very close to each other. This is the same band guy in Vanilla. I wonder when he gets banned. I agree with the video. Okay, hopefully we've got something that can expand on it. At this stage of WoW, gear feels completely pointless. No, I want somebody who disagrees with me to explain it. That's all I want in the world. God damn it. Back to making posts, so you didn't watch it. Okay. Shit, it's just shitty. If it's a video, it's shitty. Oh, Cape's coming. Yeah, the new raid does indicate new interesting items. That's good. But he agrees with me. I'm actually actively not looking for people who agree with me here. In classic classic again. Oh my god, we've got videos of shit here. I got to agree with, okay, it's about classic. Why is this so much about classic? It's coming. What's the problem? The people who like it are going to play it. What's the fucking issue, dude? The gear trouble has been broken since Wrath or arguments in the BBC. I mean, they talk about like when catch-up came in. Right, so some people hate catch-up. Okay, that's fair. Like any form of catch-up people dislike. I can't just argue with that. All right, I had to take a break. Let's carry on. How about making a form of progression that isn't just gear and bigger numbers? Yes! The failure here is the... Thank you, is the failure to address giving importance to people who aren't interested in raiding and PvE or PvP. And that can be done so easily through professions with profession houses and things like that, that give people things to do that are not gear related in any way. Like I've been shouting this since at least Legion, is find ways that aren't about getting gear to people, because it doesn't matter what we do. I think we've shown that now. The people, as much as the devs want to push people into this content, they're not interested in this content. Create more things. Create a living, breathing world and an economy that relies on people who aren't combat people. There's loads of people who are non-combat roles. It was one of the good things in Vanilla is that we had hybrid supports. So even though that was still the only content, there were ways of playing that didn't involve you being like a mega nerd. It was awesome. What's this? Okay. Vanilla. Vanilla. Current WoW is a game where all that matters is the end game. Agree! This is not what it needs to be, in my opinion. It really doesn't. There's so many other ways to go. Okay, this is personal thing. Please, the one who doesn't jump at the smallest bit of controversy. I think we've proven that a million times. Kalani. I don't know who Kalani is. Never had the chance to meet and greet. Whenever the shepherd gets attacked, the herd goes on a rampage. I'm a shepherd? Awesome. I like it. It's got religious undertones. I'm into it. Gotta love it. Where one of the loads of video on gearing guides. Get 4 tonight level. The other one upstairs by increase to 415. Bell does do that. I always mock him when we were IRL. I'm like, what's the next one? We even had a clickbait thumbnail competition at last PreachCon with between Bellular and Taliesin. It was really fun. It's all part of the game. It's also the way YouTubers work, by the way. I didn't want to put my face falling over on a treadmill, but it's how YouTube works. I think they all steal from other YouTubers for inspiration. I honestly don't watch any WoW YouTube, but I watch a lot of other YouTubers. I watch a lot of Mario Maker. I watch a lot of people who make big, extensive videos. I miss TB dearly. I used to love that kind of content, but I don't watch WoW YouTubers. I don't watch my friends either. I don't watch them to not get influenced. I don't like having my opinion influenced too much. I try to stick to my gut. This guy's still... okay, this guy gets more and more aggressive about vanilla and warlocks. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How's the good choice works around? It's more a case of going from little broken to completely broken. Yeah, it's the pendulum. It's swung very, very much too far. I agree. Again, about vanilla. Okay. Vanilla, again. I'm skipping the vanilla stuff. Okay. Vanilla. This guy was fucking going ham. This Gydax guy. Fucking rah. Vanilla. Give me anything to do with the subject at hand. What's this? Let's read this one. You know what's exciting? Pulling Mythic Jane and having all hell break loose. Mythic Jane of Phase 1 has more raid mechanics than the whole of Molten Core combined. True. Woohoo, I fed Fluffy. Wah. Now I'm going to sit for 4 hours at the boss. A crazy difficult mechanic of putting living bomb on a person and having them pray. It's not a retard. What the vanilla raiders were? What the fuck? What is your hate on vanilla? It was good for the time, man. Let it go. Why do you hate people who like classic? I don't get it. It's just a different game. I don't understand it. I don't understand the classic hate. It's coming. The guys will be happy when it arrives. Like, what's your fucking problem with it? I don't get it. Whatever. How about making a form of progression? Oh, okay. So this might be good. That's obvious, but how exactly? At the very same time as we've gotten this problem, we've practically got an army of people screaming at the top of their lungs that group finders and things like that are the best thing ever, precisely because it allows everyone to see all current content with no effort early on. In a world where a significant number of players want that, you can't deliver compelling progression. One of the biggest mistakes I think Blizzard hasn't offered is servers without that functionality. I don't see why they don't do that. Like, it's great for a lot of people that we have phasing, sharding, and LFD and LFR. Like, a lot of people get a lot out of it. I think that's fair to say. But I don't understand why they don't give the option for certain servers which do not have LFD, do not have LFR. They just have that functionality disabled and no phasing, no sharding. They know how many people they can support on a server without the server going to shit, right? So why don't they create some servers where you opt in to not have that functionality? It's great that they've made it and a lot of people like it, but I think instead of having this pristine servers where it had all sorts of weird shit in it, and the classic servers as well, which would be fine for the guys who enjoy classic. I don't want classic. I played the 2 years out of it, so I'm fine with classic coming. I'll probably chill out on it and have some fun, but it's not going to be a game I like fully switch to. I can't imagine, just because I've already done it. But I don't understand why we don't have the modern game, but disable these things so we can have, you could even call them like community realms to make them a little bit more enticing. So you do have guilds, you do have servers where guilds matter and individuals matter. And that's where I think you really prop up people feeling some sense of importance and worth on a game, is by making them in a persistent world, which is what we're after. So phasing and sharding, I understand that technically it provides a lot of benefits, but at the same time, there's a lot of people like myself who don't want it. I would rather have guilds that we interact with on a regular basis on a server and give us the option to... I can live without LFD. I can live without LFR. I could totally live without it. So I would prefer to play that way. They could disable all this stuff. I mean, I would think they can. Meaningful progression would be the biggest numbers let you do things, see things, and complete things you could not previously. But if all the content needs to exist in a version designed for literally everyone, regardless of whether they have done any progression at all, then this cannot be made. Correct. That is the problem. And this is why I'm looking for somebody, anybody, to give me a benefit of what's happening. And nobody has. All I've seen so far is, I like it. Okay, why? What did it do for you that it wasn't doing previously? What's the tangible benefit you gained? Preach's argument is on point. What exactly is he preparing for in the new tier again? He farms gear only to have it all replaced almost instantly, and even if he didn't get it all replaced almost instantly, you can still see all the content with all his friends in a difficulty lower. This is literally no incentive for him whatsoever to farm gear and improve his character. Yes, but not just me as a Mythic Raider. This is happening to the guys who have no interest in Mythic as well. But woe if you have to try to explain this to a real and genuine problem. You get called an elitist, you get flamed. Oh my, are you my brother? Are you my soulmate? You get told off by legions of people who are holier than thou and who believe that because they pay a subscription fee, therefore they should have access to everything, which they do anyway. No one's taking anything away. If you try to bring up the fact that you don't even want the majority of content out of people's reach, heck, even Mage Towers, maybe a couple of raid bosses per expansion would do, they just ignore you and keep going until you've been driven completely insane and just give up. Breach has been there too. Remember the problem in the mist? Ugh. I had to test that video. This is an extension of that. Blizzard managed to diffuse the problem slightly with set bonuses and them not dropping an LFR and Mythic Plus. Yeah, they did originally in the Dragon Soul. That's why all the Mythic Raiders went and just... You remember people got banned for abusing set bonuses in LFR? But in their absence, we're back to exactly where we started. Yes. What's the solution then? Time gating. I think time gating has some merit. It's just difficult. The problem with time gating is it's so plainly obvious that it's frustrating. And on the PTRs and stuff, for those of us who do go and test these things, we get to play a lot of the content without time gating, and it's much more fun. But undoubtedly, like, story would be eaten up in like one session of a game's of a played through game. I actually a big thing I think Blizzard should be taking advantage of is not letting us know a lot of stuff. It's nice that we get to test things and find out bugs. I think that's cool, but they could do a lot of stuff that doesn't need testing. Let's say. In fact, I'm not going to say that, but they could do a lot of things in the world without telling us, and have people discover it, because that's what happens in a girl. And essentially, we're living in an ant farming game, right? People are exploring everywhere and everywhere. Every square inch of this world is scoured at some point. They could have things happening that they don't need to tell us, and then we could be like, "What's going on over there?" And Fortnite actually did this. Remember the crack? And if you don't know this, Fortnite started to crack the dome. And the crack got bigger over time, and people were super into it. They were like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it's mysterious. A little bit of mystery would go a long way, I think. Just an idea. Except then we got time games. So it's not fun and engaging for people to just justifiably annoyed that the effort they put in doesn't mean anything. There are definitely people who feel that way. It's like, they just don't get why doing content designed for like 1 or 2 players as a group of 20, so you smash through it. All right, so now you can see at the time it's 5:15. I've been out with my family all day. I'm ready for more. God, this thing is so enormous. Jesus Christ, I could be doing so many other things. Anyway, let's go on. You'll get to enjoy your gameplay. Oh, this is classic. Classic. It's more classic. Classic. This is just, most of this thread is these two guys just arguing about classic. Shit, no, it's not. Shit, no, it's not. No heroic dungeons removed. Okay. This would not work. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that would work. That's the first suggestion we had in the opening post. The alternatives, of course, is the old system where rewards didn't increase, but new raids gave higher item level. The current system is already a compromise as it is. There's no solution. That's terrible. Don't think that. There's always a solution. Blizzard should just remove garbage, and I say amen to that. You have to top meters all vanilla. The alternatives, exactly. Now, I'm going to argue that this was better, and this is the kind of progression of content and numbers should extend far beyond raiding, and it's almost every facet of the game. It should be the cornerstone of how we build characters. Better gear unlocks new adventures. New adventures leads to even better gear ad infinitum. Linear progression, I think, is what he's talking about there. There's for and against linear. The footage were back in were fine, as it was only 6 night levels. It wasn't fine. A lot of people didn't like it. I think this is because it's so far gone from there that people forget that when Thunder Forging was even announced, when it was announced it was coming out, a lot of people were like, this doesn't end well for many people. And it didn't make sense at the time either. You got to remember, it came in under the guise of guilds that were fully kitted out being unable to progress. And Blizzard knows as well as we do, gear is not the solution to those kind of problems, unfortunately. An LFR piece for a difficulty that you can AFK should not be able to upgrade to a mythic piece. Yeah, it makes no sense. I think most of us agree with that. It makes no sense in any game, let alone this one. Same with Warfronts and Time Walking. Yeah, the whole progression model is outdated anyway. If you want to be special, yeah, this idea that people want to be special. Sure, some people do. I'm not going to pretend not, but that's not the point that most people are raising. It's not about being special. It's about being satisfied and happy and enjoying what they're doing. So what are we doing here? Crying? We're crying again. Crying that some people have finished Mythic Raid and have no proper incentive to keep going. How many are in this situation? No, we're not crying about that. No, isn't the whole purpose to reach your objective and be happy you're done? No, actually, no. In a single-player game or in a sandbox game like Diablo, yeah, sure, if you want to. But not in an MMO. An MMO is a persistent, ongoing community. How many really have this issue? Finish Jane, but have to keep going for Warforged, Titanforge. There's lots of people, because lots of people aren't just interested in Mythic raiding. There's a lot of people in this position, and it's not always about raiding either. Some people only get to a certain Mythic Plus. Some people only get to various other objectives, and are running into this issue. If you don't like character progression, why in God's earth did you pick up an MMORPG? character progression being only tied to gear is the mindset problem, isn't it? Right? Like, gear is the only form of character progression people recognize anymore, where it should be and was in a lot of different ways. Characters are much more than just the gear on their back. Again, it kind of goes back to trying to give people who aren't great at combat, which are a lot of people who aren't great at combat, something else to work towards, which makes them also feel important and worthwhile. I think that's what we need to work on. I think it's ridiculous how hung up people are on loot. Loot is not gameplay. It's a means to an end. WoW is a game. If you enjoy arena, raiding, and plus, you should do it regardless of loot. If you don't enjoy these, you shouldn't do them regardless of loot. Yeah, it's kind of like a fantasy rosebud thing, is that if you just enjoy X thing, then you'll do it anyway. A lot of WoW is about the people you play with. And I think this is more of like a single player mindset. Honestly, that's how I feel about this. It feels very much like a lot of the guys who found about the selfishness, like they're only looking after themselves. That seems to fall in line with that idea, which isn't how a lot of people play WoW. They play it because they want to play with a lot of people. The reality is WoW is all about loot, but as a means to raid. Game is literally end game loot chasing, or Western MMORPG genre as opposed to Eastern of the 2000s, where the majority of the gameplay was grinding levels. The problem with WoW in the last few years is that they let the majority catch up, and they changed the treadmill with even faster catch-up mechanics each time, which allows the majority to complain. Little Billy started WoW in 2014, doesn't know what game he is playing. Little Nick that started WoW in 2008 but was 10 years old and never actually played WoW as intended does not understand what he's supposed to do outside of raids, because the reality is he should be raiding. Blizzard catered to every women request. Eventually they can't add things for everybody. WoW, it was and is still all about raiding. It's the best game and pretty much the only game left that can offer non-buggy PvE content semi-regularly. People seem to not comprehend that. I think most people realize that. I wouldn't say that anymore it's all about raiding. Certainly in the past it was. I don't think that's true anymore. Most people in the MMO chat believe that their character is, because their character is 395 when they should be around 415, 420 is somehow important, with just wearing whatever the game threw at them as they did random shit and never doing what the game is supposed to be. If you don't want to raid and you found the stuff outside, then unsub. You should remain sub. The game is not for you. Interesting take. I don't agree. Just because you're required to play five times the time to get the same gear, and you believe it was content, when the better players simply did exactly as they do now in pretty much the same time, you can see a lot of things differently. If they remove all these weekly chests, free catch-up mechanics, the same people are going to start crying. Blizzard, I'm stuck at 350. I don't want to raid. What do? Which the credit suppose is WoW is about raiding, go raid. I think that's really outdated. That's like an antiquated thought process. I don't think the 30 arc level gap exists because of Titan Forging. It exists because Blizzard wanted upgrades to feel meaningful and powerful, and Blizzard's deemed the amount of item level right now is enough for players to feel it. This means, for example, that a heroic raider in Uldir should feel a jump in power when getting gear from heroic BOD. The Warforged Titan Forging has literally nothing to do with it. Yeah, I agree. This is the boosting of power argument that we talked about before. And they're right, it's too big. It's just too much. One big point that Preach did make was that, which said the carrot isn't likely enough now because the item level gap between tiers is too big. I suppose it comes down to whether Blizz feels that a Mythic Raider should find upgrades in Heroic for the next tier, or a Heroic Raider should find upgrades in Normal, and if they do when the gear grind is obsolete from the previous tier, basically every tier is now the equivalent of an end expansion gear grind, where the gear just becomes obsolete the first day. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like constantly resetting the game every little while, which means why would I continue to play the game? Or maybe this isn't about vanilla. It's the guy who's banned. I sort of think it's a good problem to have because it comes as a result of them stabilizing content delivery. Having a new major raid every half a year proper is a blessing for me as a raider that plays this game to enjoy difficult engaging raids. We've always had that. Naturally, this expedited cadence also expedites gear resets, but for me, it means it's a means to an end. And basically, I'm not making some huge dramas out of something that should be natural by this point. Every new raid tier, soft resetting gear. I mean, I can't argue with this guy's okay with having it happen, but it doesn't change the problem it creates in the eyes of many. If you're okay with, like, I'm fine with stopping, then fair enough. To be honest, I would not really mind if it wouldn't, okay, but then I don't want to end up with some sort of TBC situation where the player base was split between several raids at the same time and there was poaching left and right. So it's more a fear of that happening, which I don't think it needs to happen. I think realistically, the catch-up needs to get you into a position where you can take part in the latest content. That doesn't mean you need to outgear an entire tier of it, or 2 tiers of it, if you include LFR, all the way to heroic and above. I don't think that's the same thing. There's obviously, I would say that was obviously too far, and that's you can't go back on it. This is the problem. You can't go back on it. But if we did go back on it, it doesn't mean that it splits the player base completely. That's not the case. My only issue is how high Type 4 you can go. Yeah, a lot of people have that issue. Somebody tells me, oh, this is looking for the intelligent people. Oh, it's about me. Pretty sure my dog leaves a couple of things behind every morning that are more intelligent and insightful than Preach. Rough, dude. What did I ever do to you? Unbelievable. We don't need to speculate on this. Is this because of the first sentence on top of a very correct sentiment that if Mythic Raider would go into the next tier raid and get his new drop on his realize it's a side grade, it would feel shit? True. I think this 30 item level gap is ideal. Again, you seem to be very stuck on extremes from what I can read. Because it didn't exist in the past and we still got upgrades. And it didn't exist in the past. It wasn't this huge. The 30 item level gap is ideal. The numbers are almost irrelevant as well. It's the power that comes with it. That's the thing. The power that comes with it. And I talked about this earlier in BFA, is that my character very quickly became a genocidal maniac. Like, the outside world could simply just not... We had that weird moment where people were like below 340-ish, where the world was scaled in an interesting way, and people were like, this is getting harder as I capped, which is strange. But then once you got past 340, you very quickly became like a complete genocidal murder of the entire world. It almost felt like gods had arrived on the shores of Zuldazar and were just wiping it out. This is something I disagree with, because realistically, this is a super unlikely scenario. Is people getting very high level gear? Plainly speaking, it simply does not happen to the extent that it makes any sort of impact. This is true. This is true. The idea that people are doing like an LFR and walking out with 420, or, you know, across the board is not true. What does happen though, which is part of the dissatisfaction, is that main characters who have done everything they possibly can. And certainly if that person is chasing a certain item, so we can talk about the Ignition's Mage Fuse, for example. So you're chasing the item, so you run things like Tol de Gore over and over and over and over again on your main character with wonderful players who are happy to support you chasing that item. And then you give up. You're like, it's just not dropping, I'm sick of it. And then your alt goes in there on his Mythic fucking 7 and gets a really high one. That happens all the time. It happened to my Priest on stream. It's happened to, there was a famous one with the Limits guy getting, one of the Limits main tank getting things like that. That's the super dissatisfaction feeling, because it shouldn't happen. I'm not in the content where that should be likely to happen. I'm not in the content where that should happen, as far as I'm concerned, in my personal beliefs. I should not be able to get this item that's better than my Mythic raiding character. And yet, for some fucking reason, I got it. Like, it just gave it to me. And it makes, I don't want it in that point. Like, that's how people feel about it. Like, a lot of people feel that way. It's like, I really just did not want this item. I would give anything to give this to my main character, who just tried and tried and tried to get this. That's what the issue is, because that's very disheartening. It's actually upsetting for a lot of people to see that happen. In my opinion, anyway. They keep increasing the amount of item levels that is needed before it feels powerful. At first it was 6, then it was 11, then it was 13, then it was 15, now it's 30. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It has grown. A lot of people say it's always been this way. It hasn't. It really hasn't. It's so easy to check this stuff. Items are not noticeable if you end up defeating the same enemies doing the same things afterwards. I can, and I did, write an add-on that multiplies all damage, health, healing, and mana numbers in the game by a factor. I did it because I found the numbers had become too big. But if we just want to make numbers big, we can use the exact opposite easily. It was called Squish Me. Pretty sure it's broken now, but feel free to look it up. Interesting. But obviously it doesn't make sense to do this. You didn't notice the difference because there is none. Blizzard needs to completely rethink their concepts. Yeah, it's all arbitrary, but most people fall for it. There's a reason a lot of things on sale are like $14.99 instead of just $15. Right? People mentally fall for it every single time. So, again, as of yet, still nobody's saying this is a benefit and this is why it benefits me. Not seen that at all yet. But of course, raising the item level of everybody in the game is an arbitrary a zero-sum situation, right? Because everybody goes up. So it makes no difference. You can't just give like $1,000 to everybody and then say, right, everybody's richer now. Because they're not. Because it arbitrarily increased across the board. And guess what? Prices went up at the same time, because everybody had an extra $1,000 that they were getting in their pocket. Did he just realize we have seasons now? Lol, this guy's super smart. It was the same in Legion. No, it wasn't. And guess what? It was regarded as one of the best. Yeah, it wasn't considered seasonal in Legion. But thank you. I'm not just shitting on people saying negative stuff, but it's just not true. Crazies for nostalgia while forgetting. And then we're back to classic. Like, I don't get it. It's this idea this crazy painting people make of people, not just myself, but anybody who's in the limelight in some way. This painting people make is really annoying, and it makes it frustrating because I want the negative stuff if it's got a point to it, but lol and guess what and all this, and then it goes on to classic, which I didn't mention at all. It's like, it's so hard to take you seriously because you're on such a random tangent. Okay, this is a plot to this. That's because yourself and myself are in the same mentality of the game. We know what we are playing and simply waiting for the next raid to appear, and loot is just a means to an end. Right? Combine that with the knowing how to play the game and do things faster, you have a clear view. All the complaining in WoW started to let the 90... Again, the random numbers we talked about before to catch up to the rest. It allowed them to realize that WoW is about raiding. Oh, the focus is just on raiding. So complaining. I realized this back in 2006, particularly October, when I was in statistics class. We had access to a PC. I could finish early and browse WoW forums while I read. After playing since launch, we finally finished Blackrock Depths with my friends after 12 hours this Sunday. That's when I realized the way I played and viewed the game, along with my friends, was completely different. We were in our own special bubble. We knew we were better than the majority, lots of free time and raiding, but still. When we did BRD in 4 or 5 hours back in 2005, and our first characters, then in 2, maybe 3 hours on our second characters to reroll Horde, it took them close to 2 years to doing exactly 1 month, but they were ecstatic, and that's the thing. But just allowed the majority that didn't know or cared to reach levels so they could finally see the game for what it was, and that's what's causing all this. Okay, so again, similar to the YouTube comments, there's some nuggets of truth in here. But it's not just about raiding. It's not. There's several avenues, particularly Mythic Plus, you can go down. But he's not wrong in that by giving everybody a lot of gear, it's kind of like removing the cushion or the pillow, which a lot of people blamed their inability to do things on gear. And Blizzard was like, okay, well, here's all the same gear those guys are wearing, pretty much, or close to, and if not over-gearing content, and they're still not getting anywhere. So he's not wrong in that respect, because it's all about being able to play. The reason you took 12 hours to do BRD is because you were making constant elementary errors, right? Whereas the guys who knew how to play their characters and work as a team, more specifically, didn't have those troubles and managed to work their way through it quite successfully. And gear, I think that's a negative psychological impact on those guys, because maybe, I mean, we're getting a little bit theory crafty here in terms of mentality. Maybe a lot of those guys knew they were pretty shit, but they were also behind on gear. So it's easier to say it's a gear problem rather than a me problem. And work on it that way. But then when the gear problem's gone and you're just left with yourself, that's got to be very disheartening for a lot of those guys to sort of be like, shit, I'm really bad. And I'm not willing to get better. Or I don't want to get better. And people just want the easy route, which is all gamers do. It's not a strange thing. Everybody wants the easiest path. If you want to be special, find another way. I don't think anyone actually feels that way. People just want something to... Yeah, exactly. This idea of feeling special is nonsense, in my opinion. There'll always be people who do want to feel special, for sure, but it's not the issue I'm talking about anyway. You have a game that's called Anthem that is getting totally roiled by now the community exactly because BioWare deemed numbers to be unimportant. Figures and not the figures, it's not the right approach. Numbers are important because you can quantify the power in amounts that make sense instead of complete random bull. For example, I ended up simming plus or minus 19k, and right now I'm simming 24k. In the constraints of BFA, I can clearly understand this progression. It's not some sudden jump or shift to complete nonsense crap that doesn't even matter, like in Anthem, for example. But you're also seeing like a 25% increase from one raid tier to the other, which is very large. Let's not underestimate that. I think it's important to keep this progression like that. Numbers that make sense and aren't all over the place. Yeah, but again, it's the extremes. Same thing, same guy. It's the extremes, one by the other. If this would have gone to 21k, that's significantly smaller, you still would have seen that power jump. It didn't need to jump by 25% in order to feel like something happened, right? And the tier's not been out that long. It didn't need to do that. And plus, when the next tier comes, I mean, this isn't going to jump up that much without class changes, assuming you're well geared. I don't know who this guy is. But 24.5k seems relatively well geared. It's not going to change that much between now and maybe, depending on the Crucible, like, you might go up a couple of K with Crucible stuff, or if they buff it even more, maybe you will go up a little bit more, but it's not going to make any difference at all when Wrath of Ashara comes. So you're going to spend the next X amount of months doing nothing with that, because all this jump took place so quickly. So quickly. And that's the issue I think a lot of people have. I always laugh at people who scorn YouTube content creators for having an opinion. Many of them give graphs and other data and obsessions of using... If you're going to trash the likes of... YouTubers, offer a rebuttal. Please do! Please offer a rebuttal rather than no, don't like. I can see it now. Blizzard listens and makes it so gear could potentially last multiple seasons. Tiers by making upgrades from each tier insignificant. There's a big difference. It's not one way or the other. Preach makes a new video. What's the point of playing if I can't get upgrades? The current system is fine. What's the point in playing if I can't get upgrades? I see what he's saying. He's saying that each upgrade is so minor it doesn't matter. But it does count if it carries on into the next tier. Because these gaps just didn't exist in the past. I mean, the evidence that this is not true is history. Like, literal history. A 59 level jump is too low because it makes new content release pointless even if they remove Titan Forging. Mythic Raiders will have no reason to do heroic. Is that a problem? Is there a problem that people who focus entirely on Mythic... I mean, right now, are you saying this is fine because Mythic Raiders tend to do heroic once or twice? Like, some guilds only do it once and they never bother again. Twice is usually how many times it's done. Like, you do 1 week, splits, then you do it second week. After that, it's, like, totally irrelevant. Like, is that a problem? And heroic raiders would have no reason to do normal. Again, is that I don't think that's healthy for the game. But it's only lasting 2 weeks now. Like, I don't see... I think you think maybe heroic goes on for longer than it does. Molten Boar... Oh, it's vanilla. Okay. Maybe this is right. I'm not sure you can go back to now without grinding everything to a halt. I certainly don't want content I care about to be bound to that delay. Again, there's a fear here. There's a fear that any change is going to disrupt the status quo so much that it'll cause personal issues for him. Again, it's the extremes. Like, a slight change is going to ruin something else. But that has some merit as well. It does have some merit in that, I mean, you look at the Cataclysm problem, like, little changes do cause a lot of the player base to lose their mind. But that doesn't mean gentle changes can't be made to do something. I probably need to at this point. I think at this point, Blizzard's maybe in a position where they have to change something. And if they don't do something, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in big trouble. I feel that way anyway. The reason folks want insanely stupid gear progression is so that the top guilds and servers gets to enjoy feeder guilds, where they can snatch up players from other guilds who have geared up. Seen that shit before, and despite being the one constantly grabbing those people, it's wrong. And we'll get back to the scenario soon enough where only 1% of guilds raised the last content patch and expansion. Absolutely not. That is no way going to happen anymore. With all the cross-realm and all that, it's just not going to happen. Gear is so widespread and so freely available, there's no guy who just got mega geared. If you lose a player right now, you've lost a week of... Unless you have to recruit some, let's suppose in a scenario where your best geared player, whatever that means now, gets taken, and you have to get somebody who is like freshly returned to the game, so they have nothing. It's still a week to gear that guy up. The only thing they're going to be missing out is Azerite power. That's it. It's just not a thing, and won't be a thing despite what changes. Oh yeah, wait for it. Oh, this is vanilla stuff again. You think Mythic Raiders don't care about Time Forge or Water? You're probably not a Mythic Raider. I'm a Mythic Raider. I don't give a flying fuck that some random Bobby pulls a perfect Triton Forge. Think it out of his chest and goes to shot off as some pug normal run. None of us care either. None of us care about the one-to-one basis. The one-to-one comparison is irrelevant. This mystical guy who got a really good trinket. No, we don't care about that individual little scenario. It's the overall impact in the game a lot of people are talking about. It's got a point though. No matter how much gear you throw at a lot of these players, they will never grasp the basics. It's true. I've seen it in LFR where I'll sit for 90 seconds back to back without a dispel. Yeah, it's painful, man. Even my own raid group has players that need class buffs on top of being overgeared just to be slightly above average. It is really sad when you go into LFR and you still have all the healers healing. They're not like switch to DPS, and they still have no idea how to dispel. Like, no amount of gear is going to help that, and that is a problem that they'll have to face, certainly if they're doing Mythic Plus or something else. All right, Mythic Jaina. The same Jaina beating in LFR, the same Jaina beating in normal, the same Jaina beating in heroic. Oh yeah, exciting. I can tell you, although I was benched, I did do a couple of hours on Mythic Jaina, and no, she's not the same in Mythic. Mythic Jaina is a whole new beast, but I get your point. It's the same setting, basically the same abilities for the most part. But yeah, I do get your point. I was being facetious, but she's a very different kettle of fish. What did she drop? Nothing, you say. Bummer. Let's give a bonus. My titled ass another chance. Coin, still nothing. Wow, the game is bugged. No, I'd rather do everything. Oh, it's a classic thing. Fucking hell, this classic stuff. Yeah, and then he goes on to say he's got more than Ragnaros, okay. Oh, is that guy who really hates me? You do realise we don't fish for procs like we did in early Legion before people understood how rare it was, right? Nobody's running normal hoping for Titanforge gear anymore. It's nice when it happens. It's not the end of the world when it doesn't. And a fraction of our already small minority obsessing over it doesn't make it an actual issue. It's a good and fun system for the casuals. Is it? Based on what? Based on what, though? I want to know that. It's a good and fun system. You seem very convinced of this. And I'm hearing the opposite from those players. Like, I'm hearing directly from them that, no, it's not a thing. As they're more important to appease than we are. As Gydax said, I don't care if some pleb gets a nice piece of gear. Oh, that was the other guy, yeah. That's around the level of literally every single piece of gear that drops from me. There's honestly no reason to care. They're not in my raid. What difference does it make? Yeah, that's the personal situation. You're right. The personal one-to-one, I don't care either. There's tons of people who outgear me by miles. Loads of people. Loads of people above and below me and all around me. It makes no difference. Again, with Warforging, with transmogging, I don't think it makes a difference at all. But it's the overall impact that each of those players are... some of those players are feeling very dissatisfied individually with the situation. That's the problem. I can see why you think it's good, because you think that, one, it doesn't bother you that somebody else is getting something, and you're convinced that everybody who's getting the benefit of this systems are really happy with it. What I'm saying is, from what I'm told, they're not. And you're not in that position to tell me that they are either. Like, you're just convinced they are, but there's no evidence of that from what I can see. There's no one like, this is fucking well good. I'm not seeing that. I'm obviously still the better player in my gear. Yeah, that's fine. But that still doesn't come down to the issue of repeat content. And again, classic. Oh my God, I'm never going to get through this thread. How do you guys fucking do this? How do you guys do this? You just removed a path of lowing, so it's already a failure and idea. I don't agree with this. I do agree that having numbers that are unreadable is absolutely no good. But the fact that we can squish the numbers... I've got a snotty nose. Excuse me. We can squish the numbers and have it not a big deal is precisely because numbers do not matter in isolation. Yeah, isolation is the big topic here. A lot of people exist in this isolated way. What matters is not that it's 90k and 24k DPS or 1.9k and 2.4k. What matters is relationship. What can you do at 24k DPS that you can't with 19? The answer right now is nothing, with the exception of doing the same content you've already done. Yeah, so... what he's saying is, like, just buffing up the numbers doesn't make sense. At the lower end, it doesn't. There are obviously some mythic bosses. Not really a problem in Heroic. As far as I know, there are no DPS checks in Heroic. So, sure, if you go in, like, super undergeared, you're probably going to struggle. But if you're in appropriate gear, it's not a problem. Like, Mythic Jaina has a couple of pushes that you want to make at the right time, but it's really limited. With the exception of doing the same content you've already done with number scale up. It's not satisfying or interesting. It's grindy. There's no adventure in that. Anthem's problems. In other words, a bigger number is not better in Anthem. A bigger number in Anthem does not make it easier to kill enemies or progress the story. Once you see this effect, you realize wool is being pulled over your eyes, and you just don't want to be lied to. You want to know that what your character is actually capable of, and just as importantly, what it isn't capable of, but could become capable of if you put in some effort and play the game. Making the character capable of more is what provides the sense of progression. World of Warcraft currently suffers the exact same sickness that Anthem does, although to a lesser extent because WoW does have some content unlocks and scaling ceilings floating around. The problem is that once you get to the point where you have defeated Jaina on any difficulty, you've reached the last content unlock, and any attempt to get a head start is not rewarded. Either there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of people at that point. That's a fair point. I'm not going to argue with that. That is a fair point there, dude. Too bad gameplay. Oh, so this is about the ARPG thing, I think. Oh, it's about vanilla. I'm skipping. Vanilla. I can't do mythic. Exactly. Yeah, but that's the outlier. Like, I hate this. I really hate this. That's the outlier. I fucking called it. I called it before I even got to this post. It's like Mythic Jaina is like the only example. It's such a sandbox example. I'm not saying that having lower DPS like Conclave. I mean, even Conclave, you just delay the pushes if your DPS isn't enough. And that's a regular thing on first kills. Is if we had higher DPS, we could push Conclave now. Because if you don't know, this Conclave Mythic involves you timing the death of each boss to make sure that their special ultimate abilities line up correctly. And if it doesn't work out, you just delay and wait. There's regular periods of time, certainly on first kills of Mythic Conclave, where you actually just stop at DPS and you just stand around. Like, Jaina's the only one who really needs it. So using that as the example, like, you're wrong because of the very last fight out of the whole raid on its most difficult difficulty has this problem is no good because it's disingenuous. This is disingenuous. It's called progression. Yes, it's numbers. It's always that. That's totally disingenuous. You shouldn't do that in any argument. Is look at the outliers and the extremes and say, well, here's the example, because that's not what's happening elsewhere. You can make the same about current WoW, BFA's dead. This is a vanilla thing. The problem is some people care about other people getting. No, that's what you want to be true. You really do. You want that to be true because that means people are being mean and nasty. Oh man, this guy, yeah, it's the same argument we've seen before. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. It really isn't. I think a lot of people want this to be the issue. Like, it's nicer and it's easier to just go, that guy's a bad guy. Whereas nobody, and certainly not me, is trying to take anything away from players. It's trying to make people satisfied and happy, because the more people you make dissatisfied and unhappy, which is what's happening, the less people are going to stay. It's as simple as that. Like, people are dissatisfied because the whole system falls apart as soon as you finish what you want to do, and then you don't need to play the game anymore. And again, it's not a sandbox game. Totally agree with the comment in the video. Fuck instant gratification. Instant gratification can be good, but in limited amounts. Fuck multiple raids. I didn't say that. Fuck catering to the extreme casual end of the extreme hardcore end. Correct. Because I'm on record several times thinking mythic raiding generally should be easier. I think BOD is fine up until Jaina. So Jaina is far too difficult of a mythic boss in terms of how much effort mythic Jaina requires. I don't think that's fair to the player base. Now, I understand that, having said that, that negatively impacts people like myself, like for a world first race and things like that. That's obviously got negatives. I'm okay with that. I've been playing this game for like 13 years. I'm okay with understanding that I am in a very tiny majority of people at an extreme end of the line. I'm fine with it. In terms of accessibility, Mythic should be a little easier, but not too easy, because what's the point then? And I certainly don't want everybody to be a Mythic Raider, because the only way that works is to make Mythic Raiding basically normal mode, which is not what I want. I do want a higher tier of difficulty that has satisfying and enjoyable kills for people who understand how all the elements of the game works. That's what Mythic Raiding should be. If you've mastered your class and mastered your gameplay to a very, very high degree, then there should be content for you to enjoy and gain satisfaction of having acquired all that knowledge. I think that's fine. But, you know, once you start having like 5, 10 wipes, 8 wipes, 9 wipes, hundreds and hundreds of wipes, there's an issue there that's a different one. But you shouldn't cater to the extreme casual either, because nothing you do in the game really affects them. If somebody's playing a game like an MMO for like 3 hours a week, nothing you do is really going to affect them in any way. They'll never see the benefit of it. They've only got barely enough time. If you play like 3 or 5 hours a week, you've barely got time to get your emissary quests and do war fronts. You've barely got time to do that stuff. That's it. That's the limit of the gameplay in that environment. But again, I don't think there's that many people, as most people like to believe, but I have no stats on that. Smart take. Oh, you can't just say you're going to be smart. Just because you're a mod, you can't just say this is the smart. I'm smart. For some, the gear treadmill has been broken for years. True. That's why a lot of us have hopped off and no longer bothered to raid. The treadmill he's discussing is only problem for perhaps 1 in 4, at best 1 in 3 players. I mean, that's 25 or 33% of the player base that you're guessing. That's a lot of people. So what, it doesn't matter? Like 33% don't matter, which is your like worst case, or like 25% of the player base don't matter? And we're okay with that? I don't think that's a smart take. I don't think that's a smart take. I mean, you're guessing at those numbers. One, that's a total guess off the top of your head. But even if that was accurate, 25% of the players being dissatisfied and unhappy is okay of the remaining player base, however many they may be, or 33%. It's a lot of people, right? It's a lot of people. Mythic Raider 2019, y'all better recognize. If he, BFA is pretty close to dead from a community and population standpoint compared to vanilla or prime WoW. I think that's true. If you go by that outlook, it's even more clear the gameplay comes first. Community is supposedly dead, but the game still kicks and living. We think. We don't know. We don't know. I wish they were demonized, because that's all they deserve. And yes, I'm riding in your shit. Oh, so he just still really hates me. I still don't know why. Like, you seem to hate a lot of things. Vanilla hate. I don't know, man. Another band player. Jesus Christ. There's something about smart take. There's nothing about smart take. Yeah, that smart take thing was a bit egotistical. They fucked it essentially back in TOC, so everyone's picking up different dates that they think it went skewed up. I wonder if this coincides as a little thought shower Or shower thought, I should say. Or if this coincides with people started to like realize how the game works, that then they thought it fucked up. Like if they realized how the game works, like patch before, so in this case it'd be Ulduar, Trial of the Crusade came out, they were like, ah, okay. I started to see what Blizzard does here from a more mechanical perspective. I wonder if there's something side by side there. But that's, I don't know. This doesn't mean it gets worse over time. Same with the removal of RPG aspects and turning the game to a scuffed MOBA. Didn't start in BFA. It doesn't change the fact that it's an all-time low now. I agree. Butt blasted Turbo Raid League and tries to build a straw man video after shitting on the whole thread with alternative facts. News at 11. Yeah, this guy's a little strange. Not just because he's negative at me. I don't care about that. But he's very angry. Very angry. What are you angry about? We're talking about fucking World of Warcraft. Chill. Then they go, it just makes sense in your mind. There's a lot of smirks going on there. Scaling dungeons. How about we don't start breaking what works? Yeah, you're terrified of change. Like, really terrified of it. I don't know why. It changes every expansion. And emojis, but... the people who want Mythic rating complexity will play Modern WoW. Like a classic. Damn it. I never watched these videos. I'm completely capable of forming my own opinion. Like everybody else on the planet. I didn't need a video to have an opinion. I know. Even my dog's angry at that comment. Well done. Well done, dude. Treadmill is a shitty concept in general. The main reason the game turned into a play the current patch. It's such a waste of good content. I mean, Treadmill's just the continuation of the game. I don't know. I don't know what you read into when you hear... It's kind of like how I see the word casual, I guess. When I see casual, I just see somebody who doesn't play an awful lot. Or regular. Has nothing else, no other meaning to me. This guy's Panda. Rock Panda and Gydax just try to shit up the thread because they're personally butt blasted by it. First, they tried the YouTuber wants click card because too dumb to find out it's demonetized with one click. And then he went a 6-page story. Okay. It's just the war. Classic, fucking classic, man. Everybody's talking about something. I can also guarantee that in a few days, one of these YouTubers will pretty much gather up everything's talking point and present them as their own. It's just like all those BuzzFeed articles. Okay. I predate Reddit. Thank you very much. Come at me, bro. I'm sure some YouTubers do that. I certainly don't. I certainly don't. I certainly don't. But yeah, I'm older than that. Take that, internet. I'm older than Reddit. Fuck yeah, dude. No cupcake. Oh my god. Didn't we have poppycock earlier? Now we've got cupcake. The problem is various people want to push their vanilla crap. I hope you're not talking about me. I really don't. Like that. Through their teeth. Okay, someone else. It's unfortunate that your BS falls apart as soon as people who play fucking vanilla. No one cares, man. Let them play classic. What's your problem? What's the issue? Just because they like it? Stop being angry about that. Who fucking cares? Some people like Peppa Pig's Farm Adventure. Doesn't matter. Let them be. Let them be. It's not your fucking problem, man. They just like a different game than you do. It's okay. It's all right. It's totally fine. Vanilla. Fucking hell. A legit question, if I may. You may. I grant you this right, Temner. At what point do we sacrifice immersion for better gameplay? A lot of Vanilla's mechanics that people here seem to find... Vanilla? Fuck off. Vanilla. Anything about the video? Anywhere? Please. Oh, this is back. Oh, so this guy, of course, it's an ecosystem. Reddit or other social media create a WoW-related talking point in suit YouTuber plagiar. What's been plagiarized? Finally, instead of Twitch streamer playing a video. Oh, okay, they're talking about Zach there. This is also not necessarily talking about Preach. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, no. Some people, I have no doubt, do that. I did hear that a lot of there's some YouTube channels now that are using the text-to-speech function and just copying Reddit threads, and they're making millions of views. I'm doing it wrong, man. I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, that's good. I hope that their bullshit will catch up with them. Well, unfortunately, that's not how this works. If anything, it'll be successful ones. Yeah, but not about me, though. Did you notice that? Got you. There are so many YouTubers still... Now we're into just... We've moved on from vanilla. Look at the evolution of the thread. We've moved on from vanilla. Now we're into just the YouTube ecosystem itself. There are so many YouTubers of similar platform people that have the most garbage content, but some have millions of followers. So I'm going to guess not only will they get away with it, they'll prosper from it. I have no idea who these people are that support that stuff, but it's their own fault. At least Preach relays useful info for the most part, like a parrot. What? Like a parrot? What the fuck? Oh my god. Okay. This video seems very skewed to the perspective of a mythic raider that crushes content very quickly. No. Preach assumes that progress will take 2 or 3 weeks to finish their goals. That's less than my guild took. What are you on about? In my experience, progress takes several months. Some guilds will take months, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And in fact, those are the guys who I think this makes the most sense for. But gear's not a problem with that. If it's taking you months, it's taking you months and months to clear content. It's not a gear thing, right? There's no way. There's no way. There's just no way. That doesn't make sense. Gear could be 1 week at the beginning of the next tier. I don't have to run 30 mythic, but it doesn't take 30. I don't have time to run 30 mythic pluses in 1 week, and I don't even want to. Yeah, neither did we. You can check my stats. I didn't do anywhere near that. It's not realistic to assume that everyone will catch up instantly. No, it's a couple of weeks, and no answer will please everyone. Now, you're assuming the no-life basement dweller there. That's not the problem. I should have made that clear in the other video. But yeah, I should have put like the amounts in, so you could just look at my character and figure out how many I did. But yeah, it's not true. It mentions the video. The video is about how the reward system in BFA is failing. Those of us who like it's vanilla again. What you're going to feature for me, the whole reason I cannot play the modern game anymore. There's no depth to the game at all. It's like a comic book versus Tolkien. Oh god, I'm not going down the Lord of the Rings road. I'll offend somebody. Fucking hobbits, man. May vary from server to server, but in the past you geared up through each tier of raids. Right now in BFA, a new player should have to join an older raiding guild to get up for BRD. Oh, you want linear progression back. Pros and cons. Pros and cons there, dude. Pros and cons. You think raid loggers didn't want to invalidate a complete tier of raid 5 months into the expansion, please? The whole catch-up trial reroll process becomes a breeze compared to earlier iterations. Yeah, it's easier than ever, for sure. Amazing. Oh, this is YouTubers as psychological vampires. I guess. Sorry, I didn't mean to... I didn't mean to psychologically steal your blood. Sorry about that. If I did that to you, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'll tell you now. Okay. Okay. The video seems skewed. Yeah, not really because... Oh, thank you, Embryo. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah. It's not about Mythic at all. Preach needed more money. Time to make a shitpost video. Doesn't it make you sad? It makes you sad to read this, right? Because it makes me sad because this guy 100% believes that. I think, unless he's trolling, but it's hard. You can't tell. But if that's true, like he 100% believes that. And it's not a shitpost video either. I didn't even want to make the fucking thing. It was a problem a lot of people are having that can't be ignored, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Moving on. Vanilla. I raided up to Fell Mist. I think we ran 3 locks, sometimes 4 in BT, and somewhere 1 lock. Oh, this is a vanilla TBC thing. That could be very well why he posts what he does, but if so, that means enough people need to hear what they are feeling spoken out loud, and Preach can make so much money off the view. I don't make money off the views. Is this still a thing even now? This guy, I'm sure I've seen this yellow smiley fucking face like 20 times. I know you're supporting me, but it still isn't true. That's how you get them YouTube bucks after all. Oh my god. Am I the only one who loves vanilla? Vanilla. Alright, Phage, bring something good to us. This is a recurring problem, especially in an MMO chat, but high-end players are subject to a strong cognitive bias. If I can do it, so can everyone else. Although most players either can't or won't. They're asking what they're asking for. What are we asking for? I asked if is it broken. What do you think I'm asking for? What they're asking for would be a serious system shock to the community at large, especially the upside down removing dungeons. Okay, that's fair. I don't agree with that, by the way. To remind you. And the whims of the LG tool for a leveling content and smash a dungeon or two when I'm busy sit down and relist over and over days. For what amounts to a song and a promise, neither which are particularly compelling arguments was classic. Don't get me wrong, BFA is a hot mess, but I find it telling that people here generally think it's worse than WoD just because the casuals have gear. No one cares that casual players have gear progression. That's not the issue. Like, even close to it. I can't read the rest of this because you're now into Final Fantasy stuff. But again, you don't know what we were talking about. Is it shared or are they just sheeps jumping on a bandwagon? No, they're just people who agree. People who agree with other people aren't sheeps. Right? Now, bandwagoning is a very real thing, for sure. But there's also just people who agree. And that doesn't make them sheeps. A lot of people like Metallica. A lot of people like Taylor Swift. They just like that music. That's the end of the story. Right? Beginning, middle, and end. That's it. There's no sheeping, hatred, or anything. They're just people who like different music. Get over it. Vanilla. The treble is broken, but leveling it out makes everything harder is not the solution. I never asked for that. Spoiler catch-up gear and not having to do all 4 tiers is a good thing. I agree, but we skipped 3 tiers at this point. Gear-wise, anyway. The problem... 2 to 3. The problem WoW has, what breaks the treble, is it's not fun to get gear. True. Not even talking about, this didn't Titan Forge, so I guess I'll just shout it. I'm talking about the content isn't fun. Opening a map is only braces and belts. So you're talking about world quests. Doing a dungeon or getting a token for creates a random male armor piece isn't fun. Okay, so I can't really speak to that. I'm not going to pretend to understand the point of view of people who just do world quests. I can't imagine ever playing the game that way. So I will take this as some information. So if that is a problem you guys are having, who just do world quests and stuff, that sounds horrible. And that's the problem that breaks the treadmill. You have no control. If the treadmill says, today you get a pair of shoes, you get a pair of shoes. There's no mechanism to say, but I don't need boots, I need a helm. Yeah, but I would say that I pray to God no one watching this would ever do this. Don't play the game just doing world quests. Like, there's so much better out there. There really is just so much better out there. But unless you like doing other things. But if you are relying on gearing your character via just the world quest system, oh man, that sucks. That's really sad. But if you are having this problem of like, you're basically down to hoping the world quest system randomly decides to give you a helmet or something. I don't know. I find that really sad. I hope many of you aren't playing that way. Now you're giving more credit than he deserves. He's a good communicator, and people like to hear arguments and points of view from people who can arm them with better points to debate. They're perfectly left behind by a blizzard. So you're insulting me or not? Do you not think... okay, I get it. He thinks I don't have any of my own ideas. I'm not sure if this is the same yellow smiley face who thinks I get everything from Reddit and just rebundles it and repackages it in some way. Maybe. If that's the guy, then, whatever. You can go back before Reddit existed and watch the videos. They're kind of the same. Shocker. Hey, I'm allowed to be snarky. He's being snarky. I'm allowed to be snarky, all right? Once you be snarky at me, that opens the door. I can be snarky back. I would say this is a symptom of a deeper problem, ... Okay. He says there's no incentive to play content you've already done, but there really shouldn't need to be. That being a problem at all is a symptom of the gameplay is more base level, not being entertained enough to keep players playing. No, it's not. Okay, we have seen this argument before. The gameplay is actually fine, but you're expecting people to play the same level at the same difficulty of the game, right? Even if we just remotely treat, say, the Mythic Raid or the Heroic Raid or whatever as the level of the game, right? You're expecting people to, because it can be completed in about the same time that a decent, a couple of levels in a normal game would take. You're expecting them to do it over and over again, purely on the fact that it's fun. But this isn't like a dynamic environment like League of Legends or a MOBA or something like that. There's no dynamic environment that's being generated in there. It's the same content over and over again. So you can't compare it to those things. You're literally playing the same level of, let's make it simple, like an FPS or something like that, or a strategy game, right? The same level of StarCraft over and over and over and over again. And expecting also a group of people to do that all over the world. Like, so many, many thousands and thousands of groups of people to continuously play that same level and just saying, well, if you enjoyed it, you keep doing it. You don't need any other incentive than that. The major fun is obviously in the first clear. That's where the major fun comes from. But it's a one-time deal, as I said before. It's a one-time deal. This isn't a real argument, unfortunately. Having a well-designed treadmill would be great. Yeah, it would. But without the gameplay itself being fun. The gameplay is fun, for the most part. Like, classes are busted in BFA. I think most of us can agree on that. But overall, the BOD is a great raid. It's really sad what's happening. This is why I said I didn't want to make the video, because BOD is a really good raid. I don't really want to turn anyone away from it. But yeah, the raid is fine. But you can't expect people to play even a relatively good raid over and over again for months. We're talking about months, so 4 times a fucking month, right? 4 months, and just on the basis of it being a good raid. Like, no one's going to do that. But the game's doing fine in terms of content recently. It really is. The gameplay of the characters is not good. And now, without any reason to continuously go back there, that's even worse, right? Lower Gills in one else. You switch characters at the current time to do so and you got good results out of it. Did that detract from your enjoyment of having raided Uldir? The purpose of the game is to have fun, not for hoarding gear. It's an entertainment product. It's not on all for nothing if you had fun. The fun is, again, it's the same point we just talked about. So for what I actually like, Preach, as he sticks with the game, instead of shitting on it constantly like Zach did, where I think these vanilla guys are vanilla and stuff like that. But thank you for the plugs up. His video is easily more nuanced than thought through. Thank you. Again, I'm not skipping over the positive stuff. It's just that I'm looking for somebody still to say what the benefit is. I've heard all the I'm horrible, nasty things, which isn't what I asked in the first fucking place, but still, nobody has said this has worked out really well for me because of this reason. Where is that? Please. Fuck. The best and closest we've got is somebody said casuals are having a really good time with it. I have evidence to suggest otherwise, and that's all we've had. Fuck me, dude. I'd love to know what you think is most important. Personally, I think the classes aren't fun, and not because of the popular they're too pruned argument. They just aren't fun to play. The mechanics are all too generic or too chaotic. That's kind of a side effect of pruning, is removing the unique stuff. Just end up with everything samey. Anyway, moving on. Funny how people were attacking Preach. Yeah, I agree with him. Gear progression is broken. Okay, I get what you're saying. It doesn't mean it's broken. Lol. Lol. I'm sorry, I can't read your post if you just finish it with lol. Firstly, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot more fun playing my classes in Legion. BFA, they feel slow because of GCD. Okay, yeah. Now we're into gameplay. So we've gone from classic, seemingly the classic conversation has died off, so that's pretty nice. Where did we go after that? I can't remember, but now we're on to class gameplay. This actually tends to hurt the casual player base the most, something Preach has said many times so far. Where were we? This is the Screw You Elitist Arseholes guy. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Mythic Raiders are those overall committed to the game. High-end plus and heroic raiders and PvPers rarely have a problem with gear since they follow a simple route of do your favorite content, get gear, make you better. Yeah, gear is a non-factor for us, and it's so hard. I think there's also this romantic idea of having mythic quality gear for the guys who really care about gear, but it cannot be overstated enough how little acquisition of gear matters if you are in the mythic raid scene on a regular basis. Like, it's not something you think about. Like, the idea of having to hit a certain item level has never come up. It never comes up. It's just not a thing. I know it's hard to believe for many who chase item level because the game does push you in that direction, but it can't be overstated enough. If you are regularly in an environment where mythic raiding is what you do, it's not a thing. It's just not a thing. You just get it. Like, you get so much of it all the time. Certainly now, you just drown in the shit. Other styles of gear are usually either too weak or pointless. Titan Forging is rare enough for it to not matter. Mythic Raiders, none of this matters. Yes, it's true. It's true. Where the treadmill tends to fuck up is casual progression. There's a lot of content in the game for casual player base right now, and barely any of it is fun to do continuously due to gear issues. Take Warfronts. Those things reward disproportionately good gear, heroic raid level compared to how hard they are. A piece of content you will complete no matter what, but in order to make the hugely bloated item level break those dungeons by letting players, for instance, rush the last boss and end Warfront in 2 minutes, Blizzard had to purposely halt players. Buildings are required. Yeah, I did this in the Warfronts video, is where they intentionally block you from doing it to make sure people can even see the fight. Because if they didn't, the problem with Warfronts is they're actually so easy that it's kind of in AV they embraced it. That's what's kind of weird. In Alterac Valley they embraced it. So in the Burning Crusade, I think it was, it might have been Wrath, when the achievement system came in, whenever that was. They had the achievement to complete AV in 6 minutes, and that was for the organized groups to go in there and literally demolish Alterac Valley. So you go in as like a team of people with a couple of tanks, and you would rush to the end with a proper organized DPS and healing setup, and you would just wreck the last boss of AV, and they really embraced it. In Warfronts, they've gone the opposite way, where they put up massive barriers to stop the good players from just demolishing the warfront, because they don't need the demolishes or anything, unless the game arbitrarily prevents you progressing, like the gate or the glaives, to prevent you progressing, because a team of good players would just go in and just crush the place into the ground. It's really quite sad. By the way. Meanwhile, Mythic Raider's getting an item and he's happy. Now he'll deal more damage or heal for more. He will directly see the results of when he gets a boss that playing dies in attempts, and later dies a whole lot faster. Not give a shit about casual players that's actually getting to the short end of the stick with messed up gearing system. Yeah, I don't think players want to admit it. But again, if somebody would explain to me the benefits of the system to them, that would be cool, and then maybe I could see the point of view. Tab targeting combat is a dying breed. Just look at all the new MMOs. I think there's a single tab targeting combat system in any Asian MMO. Yeah, but some of us really hate the Asian MMOs. I'm one of them. I'm one of them, fucking hell. You know how much money those guys offer me? Because most of them are, not all of them, but most of them are so pay to win. I've been offered regularly $10,000+ just to play an Asian MMO on the channel for like 3 or 4 videos. Like that's the kind of money those guys throw out, because they are there to molest you. The game might be good, but they really want to bend you over a table. Gearing would seem less pointless for the more average casual player if they didn't know the next tier will drop Mythic Raid loot on normal. Yeah, this is part of the problem. People are now fully aware. I mean, no one's even really brought this up, I don't think, until Harrowin's really pointed it out. As clear as day here is how obvious it was when we went from All Day to BDA, Battle for Dazara Law. Yeah, that works. Battle for Dazara Law is just how quickly it obsoleted everything your character was currently wearing. And the player base responded in kind by saying things like 389 and stuff was actually low item level. This is like a week after BOD came out. BFD. Gameplay, Devil May Cry 5. Okay, we're talking about Devil May Cry now. It's a combination that they were pruned to death because they were. Yes, they have. And Me Too. Yeah, that's what we just talked about. Okay, mod. Not all. We are not happy with people who enjoy retail come into the classic forum just to run down the classic game. Please extend the same courtesy to those enjoying the current game. Criticism is fine, but it always ends up being advocacy. Yeah, so thank you, Moana sir. You should have put there smart thought. I'm joking with you. Don't hate me, but you should have put smart thought in there. Yeah, fuck off with your vanilla stuff. No one cares, man. Go and fight somewhere else. This is about immediate replies about vanilla. This is about classes. There's threads. I see a lot of people complaining about the YouTube personality. Not really. Honestly, there's only been a couple of dudes, like 2, who've really been arguing against me. But there's been so few people talking about the video itself. There's just a war. As much as I agree and disagree with Preach from time to time, good man. I'm not always right. I would like to see the light. Thank you, dude. Once you reach your patch goal, what's the point of playing anymore? Like I said, Gear used to do it, but I mean, weeks in, I'm already 414. Playing a couple more months for 416, no thanks. That's the reality. At least at the Mythic end. But the Heroic guys are just like not asked what they're in. It's very horrifying to watch this thread. Half this thread. Okay, so we got the thread summary from Boo Radley there. What was the point of playing anymore? Say Wrath of the Lich King. I think we've already explained that. Preacher's whining once again about the state of game continue play so you can make money from Asmon Gold viewers? How the fuck would that work? Preacher's whining once again about the state of the game he continued to play so he can make money from Asmongoloid viewers. How do I make money off Asmongold viewers? How do I do that? You have to let me know. Can you get in contact with me? I want to know how I do that. Interestingly enough, fun side facts. It's not even me or Zach. When Zach watches my videos, he's not earning more money because people aren't subbing to him for him to watch my videos. But there are third-party YouTube sites. This is what's hilarious about this situation, right? I upload a video and I don't get paid. Zach's getting the same money like I do. So Patreon supports YouTube. So for the video itself, it could do 1 million views, or it could do 20,000 views. It doesn't matter. I don't get paid any differently. Zach doesn't either, really, because he's just streaming. So people like being around Zach. The third-party YouTube sites, though, who copy the video and re-upload a video of somebody else watching somebody else's video, are the ones who get directly paid for how often that video gets watched. Fun fact for you there. Isn't that a fucked up system? So, you know, in other news, water is dry, apparently. Siegfried. Can you clarify how wide a game made you want to continue playing after reaching your patch goals in old days? I don't see how. Are you fucking delusional, dude? You don't see how. Really? Really? So you were just ready to walk into ICC with your Nax Ramos gear, were you? No. That wouldn't have worked. That's not how it works. That's the point. Eyeball was just a number. Funny how you're real quick to bitch about Preach coming in and telling you I'm not listening to him. Yet after 11 pages, you failed to see how Preach. Thank you, sup, brah. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I'm looking for. Where's the... That's what we're looking for. We're 11 pages in. That's all we're looking for. Thanks, man. Player. Right there. We've been on a treadmill since forever. Now it's essentially obsolete. It's like some magical new discovery that currently going to be BFA. It's worse than ever, though. I think we can agree. Being like this is forever, at least in Wrath of Lich King, where I played more seriously. That's a long time ago now. And it wasn't the case there either. With a small rare anomalies to this fact. Shard of Woe, Convergence, Draft of Souls. There's nothing wrong with this, in my opinion. Every new season tier, we're progressing with our character. Who the fuck wants a situation where, example, Jimmy still needs to kill Mythic Gahoon because he still drops his Biss? Oh, that's not the problem. Okay. I think you just confused the issue there. Yeah, that's not the problem. Previously saw some very bizarre fixed views on who casual players are. Really? And what they want. Okay, let's not jump to conclusions here. Despite not being one himself, he talks about them as if they're some kind of elusive creature that through extensive study he has managed to fully understand. But he projects complete confidence that us, the viewer, has no idea about these people until he educates us in some of their ways. I don't think I do that. How can casuals be rare and elusive? They're the majority of the player base. When have I said that people don't understand casual players? I've told people... I wonder if he's talking about what I told people I found when I did a lot of the fresh account stuff. Like in the Mythic Pluses. Yeah, I wonder if he's referring to that. But that is what I found. Like, that was just the nature of it. Like, that is what I found. He's done it again with this video where he seemed confused and surprised that there were people in LFR who would have the skill and audacity... The skill and audacity to follow WoW social channels enough to recognize and influence his character. I don't know what I said. Where he seemed confused and surprised that there were people in LFR who have the skill and audacity to follow social channels. Is he talking about that I was in LFR and some people recognize me? Because I'm not surprised by that. I don't know. I'm trying to work it out. I'm sorry if I look confused right now. I am confused right now. But I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. And recognize and influence his character. I'm never surprised if people in World of Warcraft recognize my character. That's naturally something that has happened for many years. At this point of WoW's maturity, I'd be really surprised if there was as many uninformed casuals playing max level characters as he seems to believe. Oh, you think I think casual players are bad players? Okay. And all those awful players aren't just somewhat informed players collecting gear and alts they haven't bothered to learn how to play. This is about the dispels, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So, one, I totally disagree with that. If you're not... Being able to dispel isn't because it's an alt character. Because most of the characters can dispel. Like, certainly every healer can dispel. Every single one. Alts that haven't bothered to learn how to play. I mean, dispelling... And this is about dispelling, I'm sure. Dispelling is healing 101. Like, this is why they give it to you so early in the proving grounds of Mr. Pandaria. Like, being able to dispel is so fundamental to playing the character. I wish he'd just present his views on his own experience and why as a Mythic Raid he feels annoyed with the current system without the pretend concern. Oh, you think I'm lying? Okay, well, I can't beat that. If you think I'm lying, then you're never going to agree with me. You're never going to agree with me, but no. I do disagree with this, though. I do. I have to disagree with you here. Alts, they haven't bothered to learn how to play. I mean, unless you're actually a statue and you're just, like, clicking your spell book, like, randomly. I mean, I can't help you there. But dispelling is something that not only... There are so many offensive dispellers, so many defensive dispellers. And also, it doesn't matter if you can't dispel. Knowing about dispel and things that need to be dispelled affects literally every character, regardless of the class of spec you play. There is nowhere in the game where dispelling isn't something that you would not know about. Whether or not you know how to do it is a different matter. Is that a Preach video? Quick, let me make a comment about how much I hate the guy, how he's a shill, he's a noob, no one should care about him, and how fucking much I despise the guy for being very much alive. I watched 5 of the video and everything he said is wrong, everything he said is bullshit, everything he said is clickbait. I fucking hate the guy. I haven't even watched this video, but I know it's wrong. Thanks, dude. You see, that's what an actual walk that played TBC. Oh, we're in TBC now. Oh, we've moved on to TBC from vanilla. That's pretty nice. Oh, this is about the smart people. So people are reading. I think a lot of this forum post is people read the first page and then they reply. You can even say this, unless they're in a mini argument with somebody. Okay. Onwards, 12. Vanilla. The obsolescence have never been this fast, though. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. I literally received the last piece I care about for now. Yesterday, this means it took me always 2 months to replace my gear, and I still have really raid Azurite proper. What? I just looked out on vendor rolls, so I'm not in that much need. 3 weeks, hardly any effort. I guess you were talking about item level 400 trash. Okay. This is the extremes guy again. I was just thinking he's talking about extremes, and then I checked who it was. It's the extremes guy again. 400 trash. 2 months. I don't know what his gear progression is. But I would still argue 2 months is too short, considering we're not probably due a Shara for quite some time. Raid Azurite proper. So you're not a raider? Didn't this guy say he was a raider before and you're still lacking Azurite pieces? Like, from the raid? I don't know. YouTube does not make it hard to blame the creator. In fact, YouTube has fostered a business model for those people who pay for clicks. Yes, they do that. Doesn't work for me, though. Doesn't work for me, though. I wasn't talking about getting your BIS. I was talking about replacing your old ear gear, even though before this you weren't hitting BIS in Mythic within 2 months. I'm guessing you got 80% of what you needed a month ago through M plus chess and for the first 4 bosses of Mythic. And then we got a fat joke. Yeah, this seems odd to me too. I want some explanation on this. I'm not sure what this guy means. Because maybe this is something worthwhile. Maybe. I mean, I would still go out on a limb and say 2 months to be done with all the gearing still means that you're kind of done for till the next raid, but we'll see. Then we get a fat joke. Buttons you do not click on as some vanilla and stuff, I think. So happy to have someone else makes sense. The Mythic Raider will have better gear 9th level. Yeah, but it's not about having the better gear. Jesus fucking Christ. Why is that an issue? Basically, I understand your problem is that people get new gear with the new raid tier then. No, that's not the problem. You know it's not, unless you're really dumb, which I don't think you are. Sorry, that's how it works all the way from Earth. Itching heck TBC even, but I go easy on you. Oh, how kind of you. I'm so surprised you got banned. You could say that, okay, let's give less gear to players or make the new raid come out once in 8 months. I wonder what would happen if either would become a thing. That would be at least 10 more Preach videos right there. I don't understand what your point is. I don't. It's really difficult to follow. Besides the personal insults, I'm not really sure. Because it's so basic. It's like, yeah, of course, when the new raids have come out, we've gotten newer gear. Duh. But we also didn't get it done so fast and ditch everything else. So there's a big difference between I am done with... I've reached like my soft cap that we talked about earlier with my gear, which might take a couple of months. But it also doesn't change the fact that you replaced everything that you'd spent months farming extraordinarily quickly. Like, there's a big difference right there. Like, you can't... This guy just loves living in the extremes. It's really irritating. Are you purposely being retarded? It's okay to disagree. It's not okay to call people retarded. Well said, Mona Lisa. Inability to refute. We're not getting anywhere. Preach, is that you? What? This Boo Radley guy? Oh, the guy did the thread summary. No, sorry, not me. This is me, though. There you go. The numbers of blind Preach haters and supporters. Any point, though? Thank you for the support, if you are. Another point which Preach didn't address in this video, but has in the past, time shows to kill DPS rankings. It did. No one cares. Like, if he never took part in it, like, nobody cares. It's just one of those things that many of us who enjoyed that style of the game have had to just fucking... Like Bill Burr says, right? Bill Burr says, it's like that weird moment in curling where you just run up and that guy just lets that thing go and it just goes off and does its thing, man. Just gotta let it go. It's gotta let it fucking go. It's a shame, but it's fun. How many hold accounts do you have, Preach? None, actually. A fun story. You'll notice I'm not logged in at the moment. I cannot remember the fucking password. I can get it back, but like I don't like posting on here. I did post a while ago, though. And people didn't believe it was me anyway, so it doesn't matter. Some people did. I even tweeted Fellplague. You probably know from what I was. I tweeted to say, yes, it is me, to confirm it was me. But still people didn't believe it was me. I don't know what else you want to do. But yeah. First 2 points are objectively correct. There's a very clear BIS to gun for, and there are certainly items you very well know. Hang on a minute. Chasing BIS has been replaced by grinding Azurite. As many others have said, I can't name a single piece of gear my character is currently wearing. That's a huge problem. He brings up a really good point. Consider you found Azurite after killing Jaina once. His heroic gear replaced in 3 months by normal mode Ashara gear. The first 2 points are objectively incorrect. There is a very clear BIS to gun for. In Azurite, yes. True. But there are pieces that are very, 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 very close. And then it's like a scaling factor. But you are true. It is correct. There is a BIS Azurite system. And there are certainly items you know very well. I know my trinket. I can only speak for myself, though. The other point is quite literally how WoW has worked for many years. It hasn't. Like, it just objectively hasn't, dude. You can just check it yourself. It's so easy. It's so easy. We even did a whole video on this. It's just not the fucking same. That's just something you think you're right. It's not. It really is not. I'd say the treadmill is stronger than ever. Oh, okay. Here we go. This might be good. If the treadmill is stronger than ever, or rather the treadmill changes, there's barely anything that you currently wear that will remain once the next tier starts. And one of Preach's points is that gearing up to clearing your desired difficulty is completely redundant, because the power gap between tiers is just so huge, and the number of sources for high gear is so here that farming fresh farming the socket so is just not worth it. There's no... Oh, okay, I think this guy just agrees with me. Okay, it's not a counterpoint, unfortunately, but thank you, Dr. McNinja. It was just progression. Let me step into the next tier more prepared for progress. Now I'm ready for progress to the next tier already. Yes, this is true. No reason to keep pushing after the next bosses and mythic die. You used to have reasons to continue. Either I could get more powerful or my friends could get more powerful. Now it's just 3 to 4 months, so who will get an item level higher this week on the slot machine because we're geared completely out already. Yeah. He's got a few... Oh, so the Queen of Hamsters. So many hamsters. In a converted IKEA Detolf. I know, you freaked me out. You got some kawaii shit going on here with some sort of bare face. I don't know. But also believes BFA supporters. These people are as political about a PG-13 game as others are about child labour, sex trafficking, or partisan politics. Newsflash to the haterade chuggers. There's always been people who enjoyed the game and those who didn't. Yes, always. I imagine so. Do you think we didn't know that, or what? How did we get to sex trafficking? What are you doing? We're talking about video games. Just going to move on. That got weird. Okay. I'm also aware that some people didn't like vanilla. I guess. Okay. Just disagree with your highness. Oh, this is classic stuff. Okay, keep going. We can do this, man. We're nearly halfway through. It's been 3 hours. Fuck my life, dude. Current WoW has more in common than D3 in its roots. Okay, yeah. I kind of want to read more of this. I do. But we've been reading this for 3 hours. And I've tried to pass comment on whatever I want. But it's not getting anywhere. There's nothing here. Yeah, like, you can't just say, well, I'm not going to go into detail. Like, I'm not going to explain to you why you're wrong. It's one of those, like, I'm so obvious you're wrong. No, I'm not going to tell you why you're wrong. Great. I like, nobody has refuted it. Nobody. Or nobody is... I'm not trying to do that. I just want somebody to explain to me what the benefit was. If you look at it just a different way, what's the benefit of this system? What is the benefit of it going this far? Plenty of people don't want it removed or changed, but no one can explain why. I could definitely still have fun pushing DPS ranking on farm fun. Take this as from a rank 1. You're a dis priest. What are you on about? Oh, you tried to hide it there. Take this from a rank 1 healer DPS. You're a dis priest, dude. Okay. I tried, guys. I've give this 3 hours. Right? Let's go to the last page. I've tried. It's 33 pages long. Is there anybody here? The main thing you do the entire time you play the game of I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm fucking done, man. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. It's too much. And nothing. It's the same guys who are still going. Like, I tried. Maybe somewhere in there there's something that's a benefit of this system. I tried for like 11 pages. I've read everything. There's nothing here. It's all just like vanilla, the game is bad, Titan forging, and shit that I never said. And personal insults. Like, what is this? This is not how you get anything done anywhere. This is like a bad Friday meeting at work. Okay. I'm drawing it a day. Thank you for watching. I wish I could do the whole thing, but I can't. Bye. I'm so fucking done. Bye-bye.